Alrighty, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, May 6th Middlesex Selectboard meeting. We have lots of guests today, and I just want to remind guests that if you want to speak, you raise your hand and we'll address you here, and you just state your name for the record. So we don't need to record everyone who's in unless they speak. Okay, we are going to approve the minutes of the April 15th meeting and then approve today's agenda for the regular select board meeting. So is there a motion to approve these beautiful minutes? I have to show them for the whole world to see how long they are and organized.
I'm proud to make the motion to accept those minutes.
Okay.
Before we do, Zara Liz, we learned, Cheryl and I learned that it might be worth noting on there that I had done my, I was
Right,
sworn
I am
in.
not going to have you sign.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I actually put down not sworn in until after 4:15, so you
Okay.
just wouldn't vote on today's.
Excellent.
So is there a motion from Zara, and is there a second? From
Second.
Larry?
I'll second, yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor of said minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. And that was something that I think we can probably take it up under other business to, I would say, what I wanted to do was just do another, I mean, it doesn't, we don't really have to, but to do another vote on the hours for the road crew, because he voted in favor of them, but he
Yeah.
technically wasn't allowed to vote. So I think what I can actually do is just rescind his vote, and then we don't actually re-vote, but I haven't done that yet. Because we had enough people, we had a majority to vote for it.
Yeah.
It was a quorum and it was a majority, but technically your vote shouldn't have, because we hadn't sworn you in. We should have sworn him in the moment he sat down at the table, and we forgot because we were so excited that we had a new board member that we forgot to follow the rules. So, okay, so this needs to be signed. Pass that around. Alrighty, so we are now at, so really this isn't necessarily so much about the cemetery commission in particular, but also just ethics reminders, and this came up in some conversations that I had with Hannah, and I had a conversation with Gary. I did try to get in touch with Janet, but Janet wasn't able to leave a message. Her phone didn't have like a message system. And so basically what I learned is that the cemetery commission, so one thing about
Wait,
cemetery,
Liz,
yeah.
before you go on, we didn't approve the.
Oh, I'm
agenda.
sorry. Yep, let's go back and do that. Sorry, everybody. There are amendments to the agenda. There's one amendment to add a driveway permit for Eric and Amy Rose. So as long as no one has any objections to us voting on that, because there's 4 other driveway permits, and this one inadvertently got left off the agenda. So we're just gonna add it.
I'd make a motion to move the agenda with the addendum.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Paul seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so back to the cemetery commission. So we have a cemetery commission that is 3 people, and you can either have like a 3 cemetery commission or a 5 cemetery commission. And we've had the good fortune to have Gary and Janet on for quite a while, and I think Evelyn was on it. And these are folks who have worked with our cemeteries for a long time. And the cemetery commission is its own beast, its own animal, right? It's not something that we as a select board have any kind of jurisdiction over. So I'm here really just to talk about the fact that there are things like the cemetery commission that we don't have jurisdiction over. Yet sometimes things kind of we hear about it, right? Because we are representatives of the public, right? And we serve as leaders of the town. So Hannah, who is here today, ran for the position, the 3rd position. There was an open position. She ran for it and was approved. and, you know, started working with, you know, tried to work with Gary and Janet about the mowing, because it's time to mow, right, for the, I'll get to your questions in just a minute, Janet. And so what hadn't happened at the time that Hannah started working on the process of mowing and bids is they hadn't had an organizational meeting. So really what needed to happen first was that they have an organizational meeting like we do at the select board, and we vote for who's going to be chair, who's going to be vice chair, who's going to take minutes, that kind of thing. So, and that's just, you know, a new person not knowing fully how the process goes, and, you know, Janet and Gary having sort of done this for many years, and it just, you know, you get into a rhythm of how things are done, right? So no fault of anybody, it's just that's sort of where this ended up. So meanwhile, there, as ethics officer, so I also happen to be the town ethics officer, I have that very lucky job. When someone says, oh, something, you know, I feel like this needs to be brought to the attention of the ethics officer. So right now I'm speaking not necessarily as like the select board, but as the ethics officer, and to just sort of share with all of us the general sort of rules around ethics. So long and short is that the mowing in the past hasn't gone out to bid, or it's gone out to bid, but it's gone to one of, you know, a family member who's done a great job mowing. It's not about them doing that. It's just, that's how it's been done for a long time. And now with the new rules around ethics, we need to follow a procedure for doing bids. I mean, it always should have been bid. But that if there's a family member or you work for someone that is doing the bid, you have to recuse yourself from making any decisions about the bid. So I'll give an example. Paul's a good example. He works for a company that might bid on the work that we would be doing for the FEMA. Paul can't be a part of that decision making at all. He can't even vote for the other people and not for his company. He can't vote for anybody because he has a potential stake in the winning, if this contract gets awarded to his company. So he has to recuse himself. So the same thing goes for any organization, like if Mitch is about to do, you know, the mowing for the bandstand, it couldn't be Mitch's partner, or it couldn't be Mitch's brother-in-law doing the mowing. It would have to be someone else to do that mowing if Mitch were making those decisions. In the case of the mowing of the bandstand and all that, we make that decision. So, you know, it wouldn't be a conflict of interest if Mitch's brother was the mower, right? Because we're just looking at the bids and we're deciding which is the best bid to go with. In the case of the cemetery commission, when we don't have any authority over the cemetery commission, it's up to the cemetery commission to, if one of the cemetery commission people has a family member who's bidding, that person can't be a part of the voting party. What makes this a little bit challenging is that there's only 3 of them. So one of them, if their family member is bidding, only if their family member is bidding, do they recuse themselves and say, I can't be a part of this decision-making process because, you know, Mr. Smith here is my uncle, and therefore I can't make a decision that's unbiased. So really this is about, and in my ethics training, this is really about, in general, as we make decisions as a town, that we have to be careful about who we're hiring and making sure, asking ourselves, and sometimes it's a gray area, right? Here's an example of a gray area. Someone may decide that they want to bid for, let's say we had a snow plowing service and it wasn't our guys that did it. And this snowplow person plowed my driveway for free because they were my neighbor, right? If I didn't do anything in return for that neighbor, like didn't walk his dogs every day, I would have to recuse myself from that because I'm getting something out of that. And I could turn around and say, oh yeah, Mr. Smith, he's a really good plow person. I want him to bid. And he might be doing it for free for me so that he gets the bid, right? So I have to just recuse myself from that. However, if Mr. Smith plows my driveway and I in return walk his dog every week, that's a 1-for-1 exchange, right? And I could then go into that transaction and say, yes, I can vote for this. You know, I can give an unbiased choice. So it's a little bit gray, and it's always, if you're questioning that there could be an ethics, you ask. And you say, I'd like to, you know, I know this person, I went to college with him. That's probably not, you know, but it's like, oh yeah, you know, he's my best friend. That's a different story. So are there any questions about that? And Jenna, I do want to now acknowledge that you had a question or a comment.
Yes, and my question or comment is that Hannah was not appointed correctly, legally.
In what manner do you make that?
Gary and I
Claim.
have a pamphlet put out by the Vermont Cemetery Association. We got it several years ago. I have a couple of them somewhere at my house. And it says that cemetery commission members are to be appointed by the remaining cemetery commission members. Unless they run for office.
She ran for office. Yes, she did. She
When
ran
did she run for office?
at the last town meeting. And she was a write-in candidate, and she won as a write-in candidate. She had enough write-in
And we weren't
votes.
told that? I wasn't told that. I
Um,
probably shouldn't speak for Gary. I was not told that.
well, I think, again, when someone wins an election, we contact that person to say, you have won this election. And I think we normally do not call the other members of a group, like I would not call Zara and say, you know, so-and-so won.
Now, where do we post the election results?
They're out on the bulletin board down in the entryway, they're on the website, they're at Secretary of State's office.
So that's how you find election.
And yes, Hannah.
I
Hannah, what's your last name again?
Brown.
Brown. So Hannah Brown and Janet Leader. Yeah.
What?
I'm sorry.
Want to try again?
Yeah, I'm
What's your
sorry.
last name?
What is it? I'm sorry.
McKinstry?
McKinstry. Sorry. Yeah, McKinstry. Sorry. I'm sorry, Janet. Yes, Hannah.
I did also, I didn't hear from any, I mean, I came into town hall because I heard from Cheryl, you know, right away, and I had to sign something, and she gave me Gary and Janet's phone numbers, and I called them right away.
Okay.
Janet doesn't have a voicemail, and there was no email listed, so I called, and I have a log of the number of times I
Okay.
called each of them, just to try to, because I had no idea what to do. And
Right.
I was able to get in touch with Gary, and he kindly, you know, invited me over. I just wanted to get the lay of the land.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to just remind people that, you know, I think it's great that people are stepping up in the community and running for open positions, because we have a number of open positions, and that it is everyone's right to run for an open position and also to run as a write-in candidate. That's a legal thing to do. And, you know, I think that Hannah had the best interests in the town of wanting to help and serve the town. And I think that's great. So, and I also know that Janet McKinstry and Gary Lamel have also served our town for many years and have done a great job taking care of the cemetery. So this is not about the past and who was mowing what. This is about the future. The future being this Thursday is their organizational meeting, where you are going to have to appoint a chair and a vice chair. So someone's going to need to nominate someone, and there's going to have to be a second. That's how it goes. And then you have to vote, and you can vote for yourself if you choose to. So that, and the chair, as with any organization or any meeting group, the chair is responsible for organizing meetings, communications, access to, computers to do agendas, to do minutes, things like that. So you want to be, conscious of the fact that you're going to want someone who has that capacity and willingness to do that. And I mean, and I'm saying this about any committee, right? Any committee, your roads committee, right?
Yeah.
It takes time,
It's a
it
lot
takes
of work.
effort, it's a lot of work to chair it and to do it successfully. And it also requires great communication, right? It requires people to be able to be civil and have, good conversations, so that progress can be made during the year. So that's all I have to say about the ethics, is just as a reminder that all of you here, including any commissions and any groups, need to do the ethics training. That is a new requirement, and it's a link on the state website. I can certainly send that again to everybody to make sure. My advice is that you watch it at 1.5 speed so that you get
Yes.
through it faster.
Yes.
And it's pretty easy to answer the questions. But it is important. And I actually admit I learned a bit from it. So it was a helpful training. And what happens is, as ethics officer, I'm required, if someone reports anything to me, I'm required to keep a log of it and address it. And that's what I've done today, is just to remind people about bids and any kind of conflicts of interest that might arise from a bid. Okay? Are there any other questions from over here? Because otherwise, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We love having warm bodies, and your meeting will be on Thursday, and anyone who wants to attend the Cemetery Commission meeting, it is open to the public, and it's here at, what time, 5:30?
5:30.
Yeah, 5:30, okay. All righty. Okay, moving right along. We're right on schedule, good. Highway, so there's a lot to do here. The highway report and FEMA roadwork update from, where's Eric?
You know what, I don't know, he was thinking it was last Tuesday, and I reminded him it wasn't.
Okay, but he
so-
did give us the bi-weekly road
Yep.
report. Oh. And thank you for coming.
Yeah. I can read that.
Okay, so it looks like the Kenworth is running with no issues. International, the work on McLeod's is complete. Today, the crew is going to do some brake work so the truck will pass state inspection. Oh, the Freightliner broke down Friday. Looks like a transfer case issue, still needs to look into it further. We'll be taking it apart later this spring to find the problem. Grader, excavator. Okay, grading roads between raindrops. Yep, that's an issue these next week or so.
Yes.
So here is a problem. Oh, that's different. The cross culvert on Brook Road by the old driveway to 126 is failing and will need to be replaced ASAP. I hope to have this done by the end of the week or beginning of next. And I don't think that's related to FEMA work. I
No,
think
it's
just
the, it's
separate.
the, one- it's like one old culvert that was not touched
Yeah.
in either of the storms, that just
Okay.
the bottom rotted out.
Okay,
So the guys are gonna take care of that.
yeah. And then there's a section on Old Brook Road that is falling into the brook. Did you get a chance to look at that?
I saw pictures
Yeah, you saw
of it,
pictures.
and I happen to have seen Dan from Dirt Tech in my passing while he's working on Brook Road, and I'm definitely not overly excited about the cost of potential repair.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I did go take a look at it with Eric. Eric did cut down a pretty big tree,
that he thinks was pulling it or
that he
something?
thinks was pulling
Okay.
the road away, but it's still sinking every day, and this rain isn't helping. We're working right
Did you see
now with
pictures? I can
FEMA.
show you.
No, I didn't.
We're trying to see if a Hail Mary, if FEMA might come through and cover it as part of the 4810 damage, but they're asking us right now, like, we said that the road was 100% completed, so how can we prove that it was that storm? And our answer is because the road's been frozen up until now. And it was undermined in a way that we didn't understand. So that's why he's with
So
Jaron.
that's
And
the
he might be with
first day.
Jaron,
Yeah.
and Dexter
That's
right
the
now
first day.
there,
Yeah.
because they
And
were
then
meeting
that's the
before.
second day.
Mhm.
If anyone wants to see pictures, I can,
It's bad.
it's
not
bad.
Yeah, it's really too bad, honestly.
I can, yeah, I mean, it looks like, I hate to say it, but it looks like a tens of thousands of dollars repair.
That would be great.
Hundreds.
That would-
That's what I was gonna say hundreds, but I was afraid to say
And
hundreds.
it's
Because I know
also
that,
problematic because it's such a drop into
Yeah.
that gorge
Yeah.
down there.
I see Dorinda has, is that you, Dorinda?
Yes, it's right across from Dorinda's house.
Yes,
She
oh
will
my gosh,
definitely
Dorinda,
have some-
tell.
So she's on mute.
Oh, you're on mute, Dorinda.
You've muted yourself, Dorinda.
Hi.
I live across from Dorinda.
Oh, okay, good. So let me have Dorinda speak first, and then we'll have you state your name for the record.
There's a little button that says ask to unmute.
Okay.
It keeps spinning.
Also, there's 2 folks in the waiting room,
Yeah.
if you can let them in.
Dorinda, while you're figuring out how to unmute, why don't you state your name, sir?
Larry Clements,
Larry Clements?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Clements.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead and speak, Larry.
Yeah, I live at 60 Albrook. I moved there about 16 months ago,
Oh,
and kind of disappointed in the road, needless to say. I understand it looks like it's gonna be expensive, but I'm concerned that it get fixed, of course. I
Mhm.
spent a lot of money to move this town, and right now, I don't think I could sell my house if I had to,
yep.
given the state of the road. So I'm just here to see
Okay.
what the
You wanna sit
fix
here?
might be.
Yeah, it's still spinning.
Yeah, so he also lives on Old Brook Road.
Yes, I know.
And he needs to leave his house every day to go to work, right? So we were just talking about Old Brook Road. Dorinda, are you able to talk yet?
Down below, there should be a unmute button, on your audio,
Like to the left of your screen, Dorinda?
bottom left corner.
I wonder if she hears us.
Maybe it might be David too.
Also,
Mr. Crowell?
that they are not aware that they have
Hand
raised their
up,
hand and
yeah.
don't necessarily know.
Yeah, but she lives on that road, so I wouldn't be
Hand up.
surprised if she raised her hand. So Eric, do you
So,
have anything more to add about that?
yeah,
problem?
I just met with Jaron Borg, and Dexter was there, and Kevin Thompson was there. We're gonna come up with a design to repair it.
Okay.
And I'm gonna reach out to Michelle Redmond with the state tomorrow, because they may wanna come out and look at it and possibly put up a temporary bridge or of some sort.
Okay, this is not tied to any flood, though.
We're not gonna say that yet.
Okay,
No,
we're not.
I think, no, talking to Jaron, he says, yes, you should be able to.
Oh, good.
And
It should be. I
yeah.
mean, I'm
so
sure there
no,
was where.
we're gonna
Jared
go
went.
after FEMA for this.
Okay, for the 2024 flood, or?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Dorinda, feel free to just chime in if you think you can. So,
Liz, if I may interject,
Yes,
Eric,
please
we've got a new resident that's recently, I'm guessing you've already been introduced, but can you just give us a quick rundown of like what Jaron's thoughts were with the state of the way things are at the moment? Like I know we can't put a timeline on when failure might be, but what were Jaron's thoughts?
He just said we need to do it as soon as possible. So that's what we're working on.
So it'll be a temporary bridge.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna have them come out and look at it.
Okay.
okay, so this begs the question, how do we prepay for it? Because we're not gonna get reimbursed by FEMA till it's done, right? If we get reimbursed by FEMA at all.
Why would we prepay for it?
Well, because the work needs to get, we're gonna have to pay for the repair.
Well, we'll have to figure out what's needed, we'll have to put out an RFP.
Right,
We'll have to go through the bids, we'll have to hire somebody.
Yeah,
and then
we're
we'll
gonna-
have to pay someone.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get some test pits in the brook to see if they can even key in a wall.
So here's the question, Eric, do we, from more of like a feasibility standpoint, how do we expedite that? Because that's ultimately gonna be step one in order to figure out what a design might.
That is gonna be,
incorporate.
we can have that done relatively soon. I think.
Okay,
Just a matter of, we can get a machine in to the brook, just below Jason's rental house right there.
Mhm.
Should be able to walk it in and then walk up, so it's not like it's gonna be hard to get in there.
Okay.
And then just dig like 4 or 5 holes to make sure we can actually get down deep enough to key in, so it doesn't get washed away.
Okay.
And then turnaround time from that, like regarding design on Jaren's end, like what are we
Well,
looking
actually
at?
Dexter will be doing that hopefully
Dexter,
soon.
okay.
Yeah. I expressed to him how, and he sees that it's has to be done yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dropped a good 1.5 feet since the weekend.
Great.
There's no other alternative, is there? Alternative way out?
No. Well, I mean, you could go through David and Dorinda's, then Andy's, then Jill's. But it's all yard.
Should people be parking their cars?
No, we can get by that. But it's,
One lane.
Okay.
yeah, it's one lane now.
It's one lane now, okay. Okay, so I think, I'm just, again, thinking about the repair cost and having to make a payment on the repair. And, I think we probably would need to sit down with, Cheryl to see where we're at with money coming in and what we have available to borrow.
So that 2.8, that's starting to come in, correct?
It's starting to come in, but we have to pay down the community bank on a
Right.
portion of that.
Right. But at least we have some money, 2.8.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, that's what I mean, like, sit down with her to see how much has to get paid off to the community bank and the treasurer,
Yeah,
and how much can we keep?
Right.
Because if it's gonna cost $200,000, the question is, do we need to borrow that money? Or do we need to, or will we have that money in hand? Because no one's gonna do the work without getting paid for it. And we won't get reimbursed by FEMA till we've actually done the work, right? They're not
no,
gonna
not necessarily. They paid us for the box culverts that we're about to put in advance of them
Yeah.
being put in, so there's no reason that we
But I would
can't.
think
We
this
haven't
work
done-
would likely be done.
Oh, this work needs to be done.
Right.
Right,
I
and
just time it.
we haven't even done the 4810 request to FEMA.
We've started.
They've
I mean, they know,
started.
so far they've put aside almost $4.4 million.
For
For
4810?
4810.
Okay. All right, so you can just, you could add this to the 4810?
That's the idea.
Okay,
She said that since the Old Brook Road project hasn't been closed out yet, we
Mhm.
can still add this to it.
oh,
We
good.
just need to let their management understand why we believe this is still from that flood, which is not a hard sell.
Right, it hasn't even rained. Okay. Okay, so we understand your worries and,
Very much.
Believe me, we've been through it for 2
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
It's,
well, I didn't see the first one, but I saw last year, so.
yeah, yeah.
fingers crossed. it
All
never
right,
happens.
are there any other questions about that? Okay. We did go over, this,
Kind of
oh.
a technical for Eric.
I'm sorry.
I mean, if, I'm sorry, like a big, like if I had a delivery of propane, is it safe for propane truck to go through there or something like that? Just as an example.
Are you needing one soon?
No, thank goodness, winter.
I would try to keep the bigger stuff down to a minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need it, there's
Okay.
plenty of room that you can move over enough to
Right.
where there's enough
Okay.
leeway right now. I don't know what next week's gonna bring.
Okay.
Zara, is it worth keeping in touch with Eric, who's seeing it twice a day minimum, and keeping folks, at least in that little corridor, updated with info directly pertaining to them?
Yep, Eric and I see each other at least every Monday and usually several days in
Yeah.
between.
Just, and again, for those folks, doesn't have to be I don't think it has to be a town-wide thing, but for
Yeah.
those folks, it could, one night could.
Yeah, oh, definitely, you'd let me know and I'd put it on Front Porch Forum and Nextdoor and Facebook Families. I don't
I
have
can
a,
easily stop by and
Yeah.
I don't have
have a glass of
phone
wine.
If you
chain
can't get out, you've got not
but-
much else going
Yeah.
on, so.
Okay. Was there anything else that you wanted to say about, we just covered everything that you had written?
Oh, okay,
there.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's-
okay, good. Okay, so then we have, how's the box culvert?
We've
What?
got,
Oh, you're gonna leave, okay.
Dorinda's unmuted.
Okay, Dorinda, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, good, okay, we can hear you too.
I
Okay.
had to shut the computer down and restart it, so I couldn't get it off the mic. Basically, I was afraid, I put my hand up before Eric showed up. So, yeah, it's progressively getting worse every single day. And to the point that I'm almost beginning to wonder if we need to park cars on the other side of it.
Mhm. Okay, how many houses are on that road?
Well, it would affect Eric and everybody up there. It would affect the Clements, us, and Andy, my son. So, but we have somebody come to our house every single day. I know that the Clements go out every single day, so it's a real concern.
Yep.
Not that you're not acting on it. I just want to, say that I've seen it progress in a week quite a bit.
Welcome
Quite a
to the
bit.
apocalypse.
If it gets to a point where I think that we should stop driving over, I'll certainly let everybody know in the neighborhood.
Is there a place to
Okay.
park?
Well, park in the road. It's not like anybody's gonna go through it anyway.
Nobody's gonna get, just so you know, you won't get towed if you park, if you just choose to park in the road and walk home.
Thank you.
You're welcome, it's the least we can do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, update on the dirt tech box culvert replacement, how's that going? Is that happening? Started?
it's slowed down. We hit a hiccup with the permitting process, but it's moving forward.
Okay, so it hasn't actually started, like, have they
Correct.
started the work? Okay, they have not yet. Okay, good. And then just a hearty congratulations that you were approved for the municipal planning grant. That was great. There were a lot of applicants.
That was good.
And I did print out, I didn't mean to print it out for everybody, but there's a list of who was awarded. And I think they said they were, did they say there were 40 applicants? And there's some, it was a competitive. There maybe
It
they
was.
only awarded 40 and there were like
There
140
was a lot.
applicants or something like
There was
that,
a
yeah.
lot.
So that's great. And so that is for doing the culvert, driveway culvert inventory
Well,
project?
Any
all
culvert.
all of the culvert.
All the culverts, okay,
So driveway plus.
Yeah.
okay,
And that's just gonna give us a new baseline from all the new ones that were put in, everything. So we know where we're
Perfect.
at.
which
All
would
right,
be
and
great
who's
for
gonna do that
software
work?
program.
Central Vermont Regional
Yep.
Planning Commission?
They'll
Okay,
probably
great.
have some kids doing it.
Okay, great. And then
Interns.
Zara has learned how to use the new system, the new gears system, so that's great. And
Yep.
so you did accept the award, right? And I got the email that it was accepted, I think.
We needed one last step, and I think that's, for you to just go in and sign off on it.
Oh, really?
You got the email? I know, pain in the butt. I
Okay.
did everything, but the one last thing is to
Okay.
go back in and then sign off, because you're,
Okay.
unless you wanna switch me to the person, but let's see where we're at next year.
Yeah, okay, so, Liz, sign off on planning grant.
That's the last step.
Okay,
Everything else is done.
okay, thank you. Alrighty, and then, we have some driveway permits. We have a driveway permit for, Dexter LaFever at 42 Dolan Road. And that looked good for you?
Yeah.
Dexter and Carol, okay. Does it need a culvert?
Yeah, I think I wrote down 24 inch, or as proposed, which is, he has a 24 inch on there.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll sign that. Whoops, today's the 6th. Then we have a Jacob Henricks and
That's in
Mikael
North Bear Swamp.
Thurber on, North Bear Swamp. And anything about that?
No, it's actually a good spot. I think I put a 15 inch because it's
Follow
fairly
state
flat there.
standard and use a 15-inch
Yeah, there's not much slope there.
diameter culvert, okay. And that'll be put in our culvert
Yep.
inventory.
Yep.
Alrighty. And then we have, a right-of-way permit for Cliff and Lori
That's, they're
Dodge.
putting, power line under the road.
at Lower Sunnybrook. And is that affected by like the flood and stuff? I thought they had a lot of flooding there. Is that gonna be all
Yeah, they're
right?
putting in a new home.
Oh,
They're
putting
running a
in
new
home.
service
Okay.
under the road.
Okay, so it looks like all select board members have to sign this, you guys. A permit to use the town right of way. Alrighty, so I'll pass that.
And that's really there so we know that it's there.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, and then we have, and I think, why don't we just vote on all of these at once? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Um,
There's one more for
The WEC permit, Washington Electric Co-op. This is for pole setting for Ann Connell on East Bear Swamp and a permit to run conductor on East Bear Swamp for future home of John Hughes on East Bear Swamp, action likely.
I think that one there, they're just putting in a pole and running a wire across, above the road. So it's not going in the road. if you read
Okay.
it.
So, Eric, I run into this a lot, and the only thing I wanna make mention of when they talk about a 3-foot depth, is just to make some kind of note. I see that where they're going across, I don't know if there's ditching.
There is a ditch there and he's gonna
Okay.
drop it below that. And I
Excellent.
told him make sure he has the tape there too.
Great, okay, thank you. I just wanna make sure we're 3 feet below the ditch basin, that way there, we don't ditch in 10 years
And rip
there
out
it
a power
is.
line.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, approval. This permit is issued with the following directions. Restrictions and conditions and covers only the work described herein. And then only when the work described is performed as directed and subject to the following special conditions. Are there any special conditions?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So this is the Board of Selectmen, so only Larry, you, and Paul can sign. So I think we all signed this. Okay?
Gonna pass that way.
Yep.
While we're passing things,
Okay. Alrighty, and then we had added as part of the amended agenda,
Permit for Eric and Amy Rose.
an application for driveway access permit for Eric and Amy Rose, and as an 18-inch culvert, okay. So any issues about that?
No?
Okay,
That one's actually gonna drop away from the road pretty good, so.
Oh, good.
Shouldn't be an issue.
all right, and Larry, you need to sign this minutes too? Okay, and then what's this, oh, that's something different, that's under other business. Okay, so, let's make 3 motions. One is for the driveway access permits for Dexter LaFever, Jacob Henricks, and Eric and Amy Rose. Is there a motion to approve the driveway permits?
I'll make that
Access
motion.
permits. Okay, Zara makes a motion, is there a second? Paul seconds, all those in favor of approving the 3 driveway access permits? Aye. Okay. Approving a right-of-way permit for Cliff and Lori Dodge of 71 Lower Sunnybrook Road, is there a motion? Okay, Paul is moving, is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Larry seconds, all those in favor of the right-of-way permit for Cliff and Lori Dodge, say aye.
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 And then finally, the WEC permit for the pole setting for Ann Connell on East Bear Swamp, and a permit to run, a WEC permit to run, oh, I don't see the pole permit. And the WEC permit to run conductor on East Bear Swamp for future home of John Hughes. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Larry moves, is there a second?
I'll second.
And Zara seconds, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, but what I'm missing is that part about Ann Connell. Is it there, in the WEC one?
There's 2 permits from Washington Electric. One has.
Oh, here we go,
Yep,
yep, sorry, it's right in front of me, sorry. All right, so this is the, oh, by Mike Myers, didn't know he worked for WEC.
You know, they have celebrities working.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all need to sign this one as
Isn't
well.
that the Halloween guy too? Michael
Yes.
Myers.
Yeah. Mike Myers. Okay, so you can sign that one. Alrighty, so we got through that, so that was a lot of road stuff. Okay, so, oh wow, we're ahead of schedule. But Sandy, you are here. Are you expecting anyone else, Sandy? And are you also here for, Dave, for this? Okay, so do we have everybody we need for this presentation?
You have me and you have Dave, and I don't know if anybody else is coming, but I don't know if you need anybody else.
Okay, are you people from Red Hen here for this too?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and so everybody's probably here, I think, and you people over there from Red Hen? Okay, alrighty, so let's do that. Let's let you take it away, Sandy. I printed out, folks, I printed out handouts. They start with this one, and then they have this map, okay? These two things here. So Sandy, it would be helpful if you gave a little bit of history on it as a reminder of what this is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I'm Sandy Levine. I'm here on behalf of the Planning Commission, and with me as well is Dave Medina, who's also on the Planning Commission. Come up and join me.
Come on up, Dave.
And I just came up to the table because it's just easier for the sound and the camera to.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
Anybody's watching online, I don't want to usurp anybody's.
No, that's good.
space. But I'm here on behalf of the Planning Commission because we are going to submit to the Select Board some proposed zoning changes. The Planning Commission writes the zoning, but the Select Board needs to adopt it. So that's why we are here to do that. I'll explain what the changes are and the reasons for them. Happy to answer any questions, and I'll then explain the process going forward as I understand it. I'll start with what the zoning change is. The Planning Commission proposes to change the zoning district for the industrial area that is west of town, west of Middlesex Village, towards the Waterbury town line. And to change that from what's now zoned as industrial to a mixed-use district, which is what the district is just north of the interstate and contiguous to that area as well.
Can I clarify, this is the current map right here?
Yeah, that's the proposed map. There's
That's
a
the
big
proposed
map
map?
over here, and there's also a big map in your handout there. Currently, the mixed-use district is just on both sides of Center Road, north of the interstate. And currently what's industrial in that area is between the village and the Waterbury town line. Oh, no, not quite the Waterbury town line, there's a few parcels. All of that would be changed to the mixed-use district, so it would all be one district.
Yeah, this is current, okay. So would there no longer be an industrial
There would
district?
no longer be an industrial district on that side of town. There would be an industrial district going the other way towards Montpelier.
And where's that located?
The other way going towards Montpelier?
Yeah, so I mean, where would that be? So
If you go on the,
So you'd be on.
Just where the village district is?
Yeah.
past the village district.
Yep, it would.
Oh,
go
over
further.
here.
So I was just
Yeah.
looking for it on my
Yeah.
map, I didn't, yeah,
It's not,
Yeah, this one won't show it.
okay,
But that's considered industrial as you leave the village towards Montpelier.
gotcha, thank you.
It would affect the area around the interchange and where the park and ride is, and the Welsh Industrial Park. That's basically what is there. In addition to the map change, the Planning Commission proposes to add some of the uses that are currently in the industrial district and add them to the mixed-use district as allowed in the mixed-use district. For example, public facility or utility is one of those. Transit or transportation facility, because the railroad runs right along there, and as well as rail siding. Those are uses that made sense in the industrial district when that area was the industrial district. Now that it would be the mixed-use district, we would keep those uses as being allowed in that district as well. And then finally, there's a proposed change to a height standard that would allow taller buildings in the mixed-use district, buildings as high as 60 feet, they would be allowed by waiver, subject to certain conditions to protect for both safety and for avoid impacts on neighboring properties. So those are three changes: the map, a few additional uses, and the height standard. Those are the three changes. The reason for the proposed zoning change, came about as a suggestion from our zoning administrator. He identified that a number of businesses had sought to locate businesses in the industrial district, and that the zoning regulations that were in place for that district were not allowing those businesses to locate there. I don't know all of them. I don't remember. I know I've been told about some of them. But in particular, one of them is Red Hen Baking, and I know Randy and Eliza are here. They're currently work out of Camp Mead. They're interested in expanding their wholesale operation. They can probably address it better than I can, but they're interested in expanding their wholesale operation to continue to have their restaurant. There's not space at Camp Mead for them to do that. They identified a building that's available in the Welsh Industrial Park, and they wanted to keep a restaurant there as well. It wasn't allowed by zoning because the industrial district did not allow restaurants, did not allow accessory retail. And so those are sort of the two kinds of changes that would allow that. So the Planning Commission looked at the zoning and the uses in the two districts, and we also recognized that the industrial district is really not developed with the heavy sort of industry. It has developed more as like light industry, some offices are there, and that it would make sense to include this as part of the broader mixed-use district, which is really focused on uses that would complement the village district but not compete with it, rather than have, both the village, then industrial, then mixed use over here, to make those all together. As you know, the village is small, can't accommodate some of the bigger businesses. The area west of the village can. And to be clear, the proposed zoning change would not allow standalone retail. So Dollar General's not going in there, Mini Mart's not going in there. It would allow accessory retail. So if there's an industry that is, building canoes, they could sell canoes there. I'm thinking actually that's what happened down Mad River. Or if they're baking bread, they can sell their bread there. Accessory, it has to be accessory to what they're otherwise doing there. And in general, the proposed change recognizes that development in that area has evolved, and to have our zoning regulations reflect how the development in that area has evolved. And
Can I just ask a question?
Of course.
Are these orange or red, are those things that came from, what are those red ones, like
are
public
you looking at the
facility?
mixed,
The first page, yeah.
the first page? These are the uses that are allowed, either subject to site plan review or conditional use review. If it's in red, it was previously or is otherwise in the industrial
Yeah,
district,
okay,
and
you're
it would
adding
now
that
be
in.
added
Okay.
to the mixed-use district. It was not otherwise in the mixed-use district already.
Gotcha.
The height standard is different, that's new.
So that says 40 feet. Where was the 60 feet that you mentioned?
On the next page, or it's on the back of that page, are the height requirements. I can't recognize it.
No, Liz, just so you know, I did talk to Eric, who left early, but our fire chief, and they don't have any problem with a 60.
That was the only thing I was
Yeah.
gonna mention.
No, they're not scared. I know you said that there'd already be sprinkler systems and.
Okay.
And that was also a question that came up during the Planning Commission public hearing as well. And because it would only be allowed pursuant to a waiver process, I know our two DRB members know about that, that they'd have to show that it meets safety standards. So we would probably, as part of the DRB process, would ask the fire chief to say, is this gonna be okay? Or are there sprinkler systems in place? Is there something in place that would protect safety for that?
But I guess my question is, why on the first page does it say the maximum height is 3 stories, but on the back it says may not exceed 60
Because
feet?
on the first page, the maximum height is 3 stories. That's the permit that our zoning administrator can issue without going through the DRB. if it has to go to the DRB for a waiver,
I
you have
see.
to satisfy these additional conditions. So that's the difference there.
Okay,
It's like a gatekeeping measure, so if it's if it's the 3 or 2 stories or less, it will not generate much scrutiny, but if it's
Gotcha.
anything bigger, which is still contemplated, they're gonna need special permission, they'll have to go before the DRB, they'll get asked lots of questions.
right, but it's approved. I mean, it's something that we accept, we just have to do it with,
It's something that we
Consider.
are allowed to approve. It
Yes.
doesn't mean we have to approve it.
gotcha. Thank you for that clarification.
So the zoning change process, the planning commission has been working on this since about February. And as I said, the changes need to start with the planning commission or by petition. Planning commission determined what changes to propose. We shared them with the state, the regional planning commission, all the neighboring towns. We had a public hearing. And the result of that is what's in front of you. And as I said, the planning commission can propose, but only the select board can adopt the changes. So going forward, if the select board wants to move forward with the proposed changes, it would need to schedule a public hearing and have 15 days notice for that hearing.
Okay.
After that hearing, it can then adopt the changes. If the select board wants to make changes to the proposal, it can make minor changes, provided you do so with not less than 14 days before your public hearing. And if you make substantial changes, you have to give it back to the planning commission with 10 days notice for us to, 10 days before the hearing. And then we have to write a new report. And then the select board can adopt the change after its public hearing. And it can do so by a vote of the select board. It's a routine, Vermont statutes allow for routine adoption of zoning changes by the select board. And it then becomes effective 21 days after the select board adopts it.
Okay.
Alternatively, the select board could have the voters, instead of the select board, decide whether to adopt the proposed changes. And then you'd have to have a townwide vote on it.
Okay.
That's up to you.
So can you said we have to schedule a public hearing within 15
You
days
have to
of,
schedule a public hearing with 15 days' notice.
with 15 days notice, okay.
So tonight, the action the planning commission is looking for is for you to decide to move forward with the proposed change and schedule a public hearing. I'd suggest you schedule it in June, give some time to prepare the notice. You can do the public hearing as part of a regular select board meeting.
Yep,
And then after you have the public hearing, you can decide whether you want to move forward or change or what you want to do.
alrighty.
So that was just, I mean, scheduling in June just gives you time to prepare the notice and have the hearing with the 15-day notice requirement.
Okay. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to hear from Red Hen Baking and also from Russ, who would be affected by this as well, just to hear your ideas about this. So Red Hen, do you want to say anything? You don't have to, I'm just offering
Yeah,
that.
sure.
This is Randy,
Can you identify yourself?
Yes, Randy George.
Randy George.
Do you want me?
Sure, come over here, Randy,
Okay.
and Eliza, you can come too. And Eliza Kane, C-A-I-N. Yeah, sit there, it's good, yeah.
It's ready to take over.
I don't know if we need to, oh no, that's the
Yeah, there
owl.
it is, the owl, yeah.
Yes, so we had inquired with Kevin Thompson about moving our operation to 31 Welch Park, which is where Farmers to You currently is. Hardigan used to occupy that space. And that's when we discovered that retail or restaurants are specifically not allowed in that area. So Sandy addressed the process as it's gone since then. You know, I feel strongly as a citizen, not of we don't live in Middlesex, we live in Moortown, but I do feel strongly that decisions like this shouldn't be done for one or any particular business. But it does seem to me that this is a positive thing for the town of Middlesex, given what Sandy said about the lack of industrial development there and the interest on our part and on the part of other businesses in having things that really are mixed in the way that we're talking about, where it would be something classified as light industrial along with retail. I also share Sandy's concern that it's really important that, to me, that Middlesex not end up looking like a mini Williston with gas stations and things like that close to the interstate. So I think I really appreciate the thought that the Planning Commission put into this about not having primary retail. So it would, I think, be distinct from the village district, but also, but complement it. So obviously we're in support of this idea.
And you wouldn't, maybe you don't have the answer yet, but you would vacate the spot you're in now and turn it wouldn't be like just where you're making bread and shipping bread, it would be everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask Sandy, you a question? What do the owners of Welch Park, have they said about this? Does this affect what
The owners
they?
of Welch Park are like you guys are owners of Welch Park, you have the fire station there.
But like the.
Consolidated Communications we didn't hear from them during the public hearing process. To be fair, there wasn't like a lot of publicity around it. There aren't a lot of owners there. Whatever uses there would continue to be allowed to be there.
That's what I wanted to
Anybody there
ask.
is grandfathered.
We're not cooking anybody out.
Okay.
And for the most part, I think all of those uses would continue to be allowed. The one I know about that wouldn't be would be the storage units. That's a warehouse use that it is allowed in industrial, is not allowed in mixed use. It would be grandfathered as long as they continue to operate, they can do that, but the next owners who move into that space, it wouldn't,
So they couldn't sell their storage unit to another person keeping it as a storage unit?
I think you can sell to another person, you just can't expand it as a storage unit. You can't expand it.
It's like the Bulldog conundrum, like you can keep this non-conforming operation as long as it doesn't get any bigger.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And again, when the Planning Commission talked about this, it's a little bit of part of the evolution of uses there. If it really is a mixed use and you want more businesses, maybe even some housing, offices, storage units are not really what you want with offices and restaurants and things. You want them in the industrial district. But that
but
was,
they're
that
there
was the
now.
thinking there. That's the only one that I'm sort of aware of that wouldn't be. I do know the other piece, and I did specifically reach out to Lamoille Valley Transit, which owns the property there next to the Park and Ride. A big, fairly large parcel there. It's got a Connor sign up there now. They came to our public hearing. They actually were permitted for a larger building. They were going to put their bus hub there. The world changed, finances, it was more expensive. So they are currently planning, at least what they said at the public hearing, they're planning to scale back the project, but they're still planning to move forward and build something there. And sort of in response to that, we made sure that transportation facility continues to be allowed there. I mean, that's right next to the Park and Ride. That's where it should be. So again, not just for this use, but to recognize that that's a use that makes sense for that area.
And do the storage unit owners know this is happening?
Yes, this, absolutely, because that's storage that's the same owner of the building that we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want it to be a surpise that they find out and then they're like, oh.
The only other person I did reach out to was the Cornwalls. They own the one house actually there's two houses. And she reached out, she said she wasn't able to come to public meeting, she wasn't able to come here. I said, I'm happy to answer any questions or talk to you about it. I haven't heard any more from her.
Which ones are they?
They're the house that you go down the driveway to between.
Oh, Allison Cornwall.
Allison Cornwall.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, right, okay, yep. Shelley, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the building that you guys are thinking about, we can, I know, when the owner, I can't remember his name, that owns quite a bit of Welch Park. As you're going down Welch Park, we just inspected earlier this year a big building, I don't know if it was for industrial that he was doing, behind like the co-op building, there's a big building behind there. And I don't know if that's, because if it's not what you guys were looking at, that looked like it was gonna be like an industrial type building the way he talked, the owner.
Yeah, that's his building.
So that's not the one that you guys were gonna
No.
rent.
Yeah.
So we definitely would wanna get that gentleman involved.
No, that's the same owner though.
Right, of the things, because he had even talked about owning land in between,
Yeah.
and putting condos up, when I talked to him, so,
Well, under mixed use, they can do that.
Yeah.
yeah.
So he's aware though that
He's-
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
happening.
very much so.
What's his name?
Carl Balin.
He was
Oh,
in
right.
here today, and he's all good. He
Okay.
voiced his opinion at the county.
Dorinda, you had a question?
Yeah, what about the people with Green Mountain Florist Supply? Because I also know they just bought land down there, adjoining land not long ago. Does that affect them? Were they notified?
I think that's the other side of the road, isn't it?
It is the other side of the road.
Yeah.
It's on the other side, it's the other side of Route 2, but I think that,
Still falls.
I think it still falls within the mixed use district. To be clear, we did not send notice to every single property owner who will be affected. That's not the
Yeah.
process that's required. If you think that should be done, we could do that. Of course, you did reduce our budget for postage. Not that I'm bitter or anything.
According to the map, it's already mixed use on that side.
No.
That's
That's the
That's on
That's
other side
the
of
interstate.
Yeah.
We're talking about the other side of Route 2.
You're talking about the flower shop that's there.
No.
No, that's the
There's nothing up
interstate.
here right now other than the house. Here's Route 2.
Right.
And
Oh, I
so
see.
the flower shop
I was looking at the highway.
is like around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flower
Yeah.
shop's right next door to the storage units.
Other storage units, not the other, there's two
Not
storage.
the ones, right, not the ones located in Welch Park, but the other ones across the street, yes.
You know, it's not a bad idea to individually send a letter to each of
they
the
still in
landowners. There's
business?
probably not that many, there's probably 20 or so.
It'd still be grandfathered.
You know, whatever they're doing could still be grandfathered.
Yeah.
You know, getting the word out about stuff in this day and age is not as easy as.
I know. Kevin, you had a question. Kevin Thompson?
Yeah, back to the flower shop, they're actually a flower wholesaler. So they are a light industry, which continues to be allowed in that district. And the land that they purchased, in behind them is, a big chunk of that is actually medium density residential. And that property also has a lot of Act 250 restrictions on it. A lot of the inquiries that I've had in that district have been around that and around the floral wholesaler. And but basically they purchased that land to keep it from being developed. They wanted to keep it undeveloped behind them. As far as current uses that are there, those are all grandfathered. So whatever use is being done, especially the storage buildings, they can continue. They just can't add to them. Their current permits will allow them to continue what they're doing. And the permit goes with the land. So if they sell the storage units, the new owner can run them as storage units, but as soon as they stop, then that changes. They wouldn't be able to reopen or add on.
Doesn't sound like it adversely affects.
Okay.
anything.
I don't hear that.
So, I guess to kind of, oh no, I want to hear from
Russ.
Russ. Russ, do you have anything you want to say? Thank you,
Yeah.
Eliza and Randy.
Yeah, for the most part, I think it's okay. The devil's in the details though, and from a planning perspective, having served on boards, there's always unintended consequences when you make a change that you didn't really anticipate. So right now, I mean, I think what Randy and Eliza do is transferable to their And what they need to be able to do is still have the cafe. Which is auxiliary to the wholesale thing, and that makes some kind of sense. I'm not sure that the whole district should be opened up exactly the same way as far as 75-seat restaurants, because I think you start to end down a slippery slope. And my other concern, just as a person, is there are a couple of residences there, and as the properties become more valuable as non-residential, I would predict that they will become over time not residential. But Sandy and her group very smartly added, in my view, that new construction would need to be two-story. So you can't have flat roof, that kind of development there.
Mm-hmm.
The other question I have is, some part of what I look at when I look at land is what kind of jobs can we create, because people need jobs. And we want to be sure that good jobs will come along. I think Carl has done a great job putting in his storage things. They make money, and it's a smart business decision, but they don't make very many jobs. They store stuff. So that's a roundabout way of saying, I think it's mostly fine. But there's things to think about, because you have a designated town center, and you have the mixed use area, which is designed to sort of, all of it sort of work together in the way that it is. And I'm assuming that the reason the industrial district was created was to stop any kind of sprawl of unintended consequences. So I don't think it's a big problem, but I think it needs to be thought about.
Okay. We're almost running out of time, so I just want to clarify with Sandy. So, and for sort of our job as a board, so do we as a board want to take this home with us, sort of review it, make sure that, I'm happy to vote on this tonight, what the moving forward piece, but when you mentioned the parts around that we have the option of making changes that might be minor changes or might be significant changes, or that we might decide, oh, we really think this needs to go to a townwide vote, right? So do we as a board want to look this over and think about this, and then at the next meeting come back and say, okay, we're gonna warn, we looked this over, we don't really have any changes, we have minor changes, and then go through the process of warning the public meeting. Does that sound like a okay process?
There's a number of ways you can go forward. You could also decide, at this meeting, yes, we're interested enough in this to move forward and go ahead and schedule the public hearing.
Okay.
And then you still have, after the public hearing, if you're here for people, it's like, oh no, we really don't want to do this, or we really want to make some changes, you would have to have another public hearing.
Okay.
So if you want to be extra sure, you can either talk about it now, you can talk about it at your next meeting, how close is this to what we would want to adopt, and then schedule a public hearing.
Okay, and then just to be clear, we're basically looking at, this is what the mixed use with these few additions, what already exists and what few additions, plus this information on the back, plus the maps. This is what we would be looking at, our proposed changes and getting rid of this, the whole of this side of the industrial district. So I personally think that I'm ready to move forward with this and schedule the public hearing. There's nothing that especially hearing from everybody and knowing that there aren't any like real red flags, that I would say, let's schedule the public hearing and hear from the public, and if there's something that, is glaring, that you read through this and go like, oh gosh, what if this scenario comes up? I wanna talk to Sandy about that, then we can do that, right? We can do that at the public hearing, yeah.
Can I just make a suggestion that maybe we do notify all the owners for that, for the public hearing with the selectmen? This way,
Yeah.
everyone can come.
I agree, that's a good idea. I don't know how to, do we know, who those owners are? I don't know who they are.
I'm sure you can find out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done it in the past, you look at the tax maps and they're on the grand list.
Okay.
You send and if you wanna be extra careful, you can look at both the tax maps and the voter list. Oh, but for businesses, there might be different.
Yeah.
There's not that many.
I agree with that. I think it's just, for the sake of, we don't want someone to say, I didn't know about this, right? And even if it is going a little above and beyond, because this isn't something we do every day, right? And then the town could pay for it if you don't have a budget.
Oh, it's out of our hands. This is now.
Oh, okay, so this is in our hands, okay. So then, this is where we need a select board assistant to write the letter, right, not you. So, so I can work on that letter, but I don't know how to get the addresses. I'd have to
Okay.
look at,
I'll look into that.
okay, if you can get me the addresses, I can work on the letter.
Kevin can probably, Kevin notifies all abutting landowners.
Okay.
for
You
every
can maybe
area.
ask Kevin to do
You
it.
might have.
Okay.
I was gonna say, well,
You're being volunteered, Kevin.
Kevin,
Is that
did you
okay?
hear that?
voluntold.
Yes, I can do that.
That would be great, Kevin. So you would write the letter too? Well, I thought that's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why not?
That's what you told me.
I can come up with a notice and get that.
Stuff like that.
I can help you with the actual, the newspaper notice that you need, and I don't think you have to send it to the neighbor. I've got all the neighboring.
So if we were looking at June and we have to do at least 15 days, let's just decide right now what that date is gonna be. So we have, we could do the first board meeting in June, which is the 3rd.
No, let's do the second board meeting.
That might be tight.
Okay, second board meeting in June, which is the 17th. That's like people's graduations and stuff, but hopefully they'll be able to come. Okay, so June 17th is going to be, what are we calling it? A public hearing. A public hearing. That's 6 o'clock.
And is that something we obviously have to publicly post as
Yes.
well?
Yes, and that's what she was talking
There
about.
needs to be a
Yeah.
public notice in the newspaper and.
Okay,
You're
public
gonna do
hearing
front porch
for,
photos
changing the,
It's your hearing, not mine.
What are we calling it? What are they called? The districts?
On the website.
Thank you.
Okay. So on our to-do list is, Sandy helping,
I'll help Cheryl with the
Cheryl
notice.
with the notice. Kevin's gonna get the letter together, just explaining it and sending it out to the landowners who are in that district. And you're gonna help him with the addresses if he needs it.
Yeah, if he needs it, and then I'll post it in the Front Porch Forum Times Argus and.
Okay, and when you have it, just send it to me so I can put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Do we need to make that an official motion and second and vote?
Oh, we do need to make a motion to move forward, right? Is that what you said, Sandy?
I don't know what.
Let's just make a motion to move forward with the process
And schedule a public hearing.
and schedule a public hearing. Is there a motion?
Yes, I might make that motion.
Okay, and is
I'll
there a
second.
second? And Zara seconds it. Okay, all those in favor of said motion,
Aye.
which Stacy's going to write down. What is that motion? Okay, great. All right, so that's great. Thank you for that, and thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts on this. That was helpful. Okay, so it is, how are we doing on timing? We are,
6:14.
okay, 6:14. We're at the treasurer's report. We're a little late.
We can keep it simple.
Yeah, and then we can talk a little bit about, this loan.
Yep, you got the paperwork in front of you, there's 2 loans there, one's
Oh,
a
right.
long-term loan and the other one's a current expense loan. The long-term loan is gonna be paying back Community Bank for the amount borrowed under them. And then the other piece of it will be to be able to pay current expenses
Okay.
and stuff from the 2024 flood.
Okay, so I see something called current expense note, and that's the one for
Yeah.
the current expenses, and then loan agreement is the municipal climate recovery fund. Okay, perfect, all right.
So, and that's pretty much it.
All right, and could you give us a little refresher too on what's happening with the FEMA money? No, just the FEMA money.
Oh, that's FEMA money.
Sure, we've been obligated, for 4720, just, it's all the same that I had told you before, so it's like $2.8 million that are coming our way.
And you got something about that, didn't
And-
you?
Yeah, I have a report that I need to approve, but I need to match to their numbers first.
Okay,
And as soon as I do actually, I've got a report to do for the Vermont Bond Bank tomorrow, and after I do that, then I'll be able to do the other one.
okay.
Because it's the big one, right, that they want you,
Yeah,
South
and
Bear.
that's the one that
and
we were
Norton.
talking of, that's the one that I told you that they didn't give us the 90-10. The report don't match the numbers.
So it was originally 938,428,
Right.
and they're giving us 844,585.
Yeah, so it don't come out to be the
So the-
90%.
Well, 10% is, the difference is 93,842. So it should be 10%.
Their report is different from the actual description.
Well,
on
didn't you
their-
say they add state money too when they send it to you?
No, it's on a different category, so
Okay.
it's a different queue.
But
So-
Cheryl did confirm with me this week when I was asking her that we are getting the state share when we're getting the,
They don't give it to us at the exact same time, but it's usually, it lags. So
Okay.
so like they might do report number 8 and give us the federal share, the 90%, and then after that, then we get the other 10%, like 4 reports down from that.
it's 7.5%, is that right? Or
They
of 10%, so like 75% of the 10% left, and then we're 25% of that left, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
So the 10% should come, it comes out to about 609,500, so we would have a quarter of that, so like 200,000,
Right.
Okay,
a little less.
That would be our total tab,
A
would be
little
the
less.
6 and.
Yeah, would be like 175, I don't have my phone on me to do what
I know.
25% of
The whole one.
$610,000 is.
110, 12, 20 plus.
It's 609,557,
Just a minute.
Yep.
let's do 25% of that, and that's what we're on the hook for 4720.
15,239.
15,239.
150 something.
No, it has to be 100 and something. Yeah, it's.
So give me, let's do it again because
Yep.
that's,
609,557
yeah,
times 25%.
152,000.
Yeah.
I forgot one number.
That's right, yeah.
It sounds worse, but it sounds more
Come on,
correct.
15,000 better.
We only owe 15,000, yay! Where are we gonna get
Well,
that
that
money?
changed
Yeah, so it's
dramatically.
152,389.
Thank you.
Dare I ask, where are we gonna get that money?
Well,
Coin drop.
you know, it sounds really big, but some of what we're getting paid back is not money that we paid out. It's the guys, it's the crew's work. So there's
That's
hours
true.
and
Okay,
hours
yep,
of their
yep.
own
It's a
labor
lot
that
of
we're getting paid
in-kind,
back.
yeah.
The equipment, I mean, that excavator is almost $100 an hour just to use that excavator, so we're getting that back.
Right.
That's good.
I know, my first round of roads, they were small, but what the crew did with their work and everything was a $90,000 grouping of roads, so they would have had to do that work anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's in-kind money we get back.
That
so it's
FEMA's
big.
gonna pay us back, even though the guys would have worked those hours anyway, because it
Anyway,
was part of
yeah.
their 40-hour work week, and, we wouldn't have been paid $100 to use the excavator normally.
Okay, so. Anything else from the treasurer?
Nope.
Do we have
that's it.
orders?
Yes, they're right
We
there.
do, okay.
and there's a payroll one, and the payables are here.
And we're able to pay all our bills right now?
Oh, yeah, the payables are $39,000.
Okay, good.
Do we need to do an action so that Cheryl can take this money?
You guys
So
already did it, but it wouldn't hurt to do it again.
for this, the loan, yeah, so that we're, that we accept the loan documents or something
I'll
like
make
that.
a motion that we accept the loan documents.
For 1,536,000,
Plus 852.
for, let's just say, that is for,
For general obligation.
general obligation,
And then
and
852 for,
852 for current expense note. They actually said general obligation here, but I think they meant current expense note.
Okay.
852,000 for current
Current
expenses.
so,
Okay, and then there's a lot of things to sign, you guys, and Cheryl has done a fabulous job.
Wait, Zara
So I made a
someone
motion.
Second.
Oh, yeah. Is there a second?
I will second.
Paul's seconding that, and all those in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Middlesex, we're taking on another loan,
But we're paying them off.
but we're paying them off.
Anyway, good portion.
Okay,
Lower interest rate.
yeah. There's some good, I mean, thank goodness that we have access to it, let's just say that.
The
Yeah.
Vermont
Okay.
Bond Bank's been great.
So as I pass this around, there's things that say all select board and Liz only. If someone would make sure that as they're doing it, that it was, that I actually signed where it says the select board and Liz only, that would be great. Okay, so, I do have a question though. When we get this paid off, well, not paid, when we use part of this money to pay down the community bank, will we still have a balance on community bank?
There will be a small balance.
There'll be a small balance, and then as we get maybe some FEMA money, we'll pay that off. Are we closing out that line of credit?
We have 2 lines of credit, remember, and we'll pretty much be closing out one of them.
We'll be closing out one of them, and then we will have the other one open to us in case we need to borrow it again, right?
Yeah.
And that one is effective until when? Is it a
I think
year?
November of 2025.
Okay, so we'd have to pay it off by November of 2025 too?
They could rewrite it. I mean,
Okay, they could
will-
rewrite it. I'm just thinking about like this Old Brook Road,
Right.
right? Do we
Yeah.
have the money? Maybe we could borrow from that. And how much was that one for? 2 million?
Remember, it was actually 3.5, but we borrowed I think 1.5
Okay.
already on it. So the Vermont Bond Bank, with that one part of that loan, there's potential for forgiveness as well, which will help offset some interest that we've been charged for loans as well.
Interest forgiveness?
Yeah, well, it'll kind of wash itself, because FEMA's, we're supposed to get some money back for interest, but if they also, so we'll have that interest, and we'll be able to reflect that interest, and then hopefully we'll have some forgiveness as well.
so
Okay.
that's where we're at, that spot with FEMA right now, where Cheryl's starting to get interest and stuff together, so I can
This one's
start
just
filling
you.
out the category Z
Oh, great,
stuff,
thank you.
so that we can be also paid that money from FEMA, which is nice. Knock on wood.
So the good news is, if we have to push this through for Old Brook Road, we've got a line of credit to help make it happen.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
And luckily, 2.8 obligated that's coming into.
Yeah, that's coming in, right. And maybe there'll be some left over to put in our reserves.
Well, they do, I mean, they give us hazard mitigation, so
Yeah.
like the road, like what Cheryl's trying to add up, and I understand why it's confusing, I gave them 540,000 worth, but they wanna pay us 990,000
Liz only.
because there's a culvert that needs to be fixed
That I
or
have
what
to
have you, and so they've
You
added
did
that
it.
money.
I didn't want to do it.
Okay,
It's hard to add up because they give us extra money and don't tell us sometimes.
Did you sign? Yeah.
But then they take some money away and don't tell us.
Right, that too.
I heard from a Plainfield Select Board member that Old Brook Road is actually a state highway. So all that damage that Plainfield itself as a town isn't responsible for on Brook Road.
Lucky them.
Oh.
I know. That's
saw
huge.
it.
You don't need
Yeah,
to put that in the
actually-
minutes, but I
saw that
I mean, that's,
coming through.
they had a
Yeah.
huge amount of damage, and I was like, how are they gonna pay for that, even with FEMA, but it's a state highway. I think even all the way into town. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. All right, so now we're right on time. To continue review and update of Middlesex purchasing policy, action likely.
I didn't
So
know that
I
was-
brought my purchasing policy with me from
I'm not
last
surprised.
time.
Oh, I just,
Just on a roll.
And so now, just for you folks, this is sort of a boring part of the meeting where we're going through we're just sort of doing some admin work.
She didn't mean that. She didn't mean that.
Oh,
It
it's
wasn't
very
directed
boring.
at you.
it's
Well, I mean,
sleep inducing.
it's a little sleep inducing. But what we're doing is we are reviewing our purchasing policy and making it a little bit more up to date, and Stacy has taken the lead on that. And I thank you for that, Stacy.
Cheryl, can you let me into the select board meeting? Then I can
Thanks for
share
coming,
my
you guys.
screen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, how perfect.
You are in there now.
Woohoo.
I don't know what I did.
Nice to meet you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Are you gonna be doing the orders and stuff, or are you gonna be doing the executive session after this and then the orders? That can come home.
Do you want, is there something about the orders that you, yes, so I don't want you to have to leave and come back, so we can skip, before I do, actually, why don't we,
Let's go to orders.
yeah, let's go to the other business first, because you don't need to sit around
Do you
here.
have anything for me, questions, whatever?
You mean about the executive session?
No, what about that too? You can either-
Yeah, no, this was more just around, I've gotten some applications in and I just wanted to discuss it with the board. But we're not making any decisions or anything like that, but what my plan was to invite people at our next meeting. And so I just wanted to run some things.
But if anybody has questions.
Oh,
call
yes.
me.
Yeah, and also there's some stuff about the select board assistant, so, yeah, okay. So under orders, we have this. We have our orders, so we just need to do that. There was, some correspondence. I received an email from Kelly Sullivan, who owns property on Route 12. And I think she does an Airbnb maybe or something, or rents it. And the adjoining property is one that we've had issues with in the past about junk. And so, I basically said, we have a junk ordinance, but we don't have a way to enforce it, right? I mean, we don't have somebody to come and, we can fine him, but if he doesn't pay, we're not gonna get. And he has been responsive in the past to moving some junk. Yes.
He actually came in to pay his taxes and said that he had hired someone to come in and start cleaning up and helping clean up some things.
Okay.
So that's why there's that little excavator in the dumpster there
Okay.
now. And he actually has kind of moved some things, but it's a pretty slow process. right
Yeah.
now.
Well, I think it's also co-owned by Downstreet, or it was.
The land is down street, the home itself belongs to Bob Bowers.
Okay.
So he's has somebody that's coming in, they're going to take, I guess apparently there's 13 vehicles up there, and they're gonna pull those out and take some of the payment for catalytic converters and taking it for the metal and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
For their payment, which is gonna help him financially.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Is
good.
this the house that's like right near the reservoir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, my only concern from like a liability perspective is just like, there's basically cars parked in the right of way and it's dangerous.
Yeah, he had that issue and he did move stuff, but there's probably new ones there now.
When we discussed emergency service access, he's gonna have issues if he has any of
Okay.
those issues. He has rodent issues as well that's going on up there.
Okay.
But he's also disabled and
Yep.
has some financial issues, and that's why he got somebody to come in and do that piece of it.
Isn't Downstreet also somewhat responsible for this?
Sarah has told me in the past that there's been letters that have been sent to them with no action.
Okay.
Down Street.
Down Street is a housing organization where it's a
It used to
shared
be
equity,
Central Vermont
so he
Trust.
owns it with Down Street. That makes it more affordable for him. So when he sells, if he were to sell, Down Street gets a portion and he gets a portion.
Understood.
Yeah, and they used to be Central Vermont Land Trust.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So he's trying, I mean.
yeah, so he's trying, so it sounds like he's trying to make some
He is
steps
trying,
towards
I mean,
it.
it is,
Okay,
I mean, like, I've had people come in and say something like, you know, because everybody has the safety features in their vehicle where.
or like
if something
beeps
that-
when you go by or
Or
something?
it snatches your wheel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
okay.
apparently that's been an issue with traffic coming down the
Okay.
road, that if his truck is too close, then it snatches the vehicle out of the way to avoid an accident.
Mm-hmm, okay.
Is he open to like help, or is he like?
I think he
do it
would
myself?
like some help,
Yeah.
but I think he just feels extremely overwhelmed because it's not just the exterior as well as, I guess apparently it's the interior too.
Yeah.
What about other instances, like, you know, the dumping up here, and I swear on my way down on Center Road, there was a black truck, a pile of stuff beside it, and it was like getting jumped or had a, like, it was attached to, it was like, the truck couldn't move. It was
I
like
saw
it
that,
dumped a
yeah.
bunch of stuff and
Is
then
this
it
at the
was.
turnaround, Zara? Up here on Center
Well,
Road?
there's the turnaround, but this was on Center
This
Road,
is on
in the
Center
middle of
Road
Center
coming
Road,
down,
all
yeah.
the way here.
Yeah, there's a house back there, and he was walking back and forth.
You mean
Okay.
jumped, like his battery needed to be jumped?
Yeah, he was charging a battery or something.
But on the side, it was like a chair and some
Yeah,
boxes.
yeah, there's all
and,
kinds of
like,
stuff,
he had
yeah.
unloaded the vehicle, and I
Yeah.
don't know
Or he was just gonna leave it there?
yeah, it wasn't on the side with any houses, it was on the side where,
Yeah, but if you look deep into those woods, there's a house in there. But there's a
Oh.
building in there. I don't know if it's a house, or maybe it's a shed or something, but
Maybe he
there's
was
a
putting them out for as a
structure.
free pile?
I hope I don't drive home on Center Road and see that pile and no car, no truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there isn't
know
a
I can-
need right now to like send a letter about our junk ordinance. Because he's been in contact with you and he has, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
That,
Yeah,
like,
and is
It's
there,
worth
like,
He's trying to
noting
make
and
an effort.
acknowledging
Yeah,
that, maybe making a timestamp on it so we know.
Oh, can I do one? Sorry.
yes, go ahead, Stacy.
Paul, I didn't wanna cut
No,
you
go
off. I was just gonna say, so this is kind of like piggybacking on, speaking of junk, and Green Up Day was on Saturday. I'm
Yes.
like self-proclaimed super Green Up Day nerd.
Thank you.
Yay,
I
Thank
pick
you.
up so much stuff. And just something to like throw it out there. When I lived in Orange, part of their Green Up Day initiative involved the town sponsored dumpsters for the community to bring, to use. And for like $5, you can bring a car's worth of stuff to go in the dumpster. For $10, you can bring a truck's worth of stuff to go in the dumpster. And the reason why they did that is because it generally kept couches from showing up in the ditches.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder, I don't know if they still do it. I don't know what it would cost, but just kind of food for thought, as we're looking at these concerns of junk, it's okay, but can we make junk removal more accessible for these folks? And in Orange, that's just what they did. And so I said, it's just something to keep in mind in terms of expanding the green up.
Yes, Cheryl?
What's up, Cheryl?
So John has actually talked about that a little bit. because
John Udis?
Yeah, and the
Udis?
other thing that he had done was he got Vermont Tire come and picked up all our tires.
That was great.
Right?
Free.
Amazing.
So that saved us, $1,500 to $1,800 right there for doing that, and, so
That's great.
because that was the other idea.
Because
We were
people
like-
take tires from their attics and
Oh, yeah.
Well,
pretend they
that
found
was-
them on the side
That
of
was
the road.
actually the other thing, that's how we got in the conversation, because I'd asked John, I said, what if people wanna bring their personal tires, why don't we charge them $3 a tire or something? And, with working together with everything, and Vermont Tire agreed to come and do everything for free. They had their truck, they had a driver, he worked, his daughter worked with him.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's great.
Sounds like
And
they're
let's
under
just give a
budget.
hearty thanks to all those folks who went out there and picked up garbage.
In the
Thank you,
rain.
Stacy, for
57
that.
volunteers.
57 volunteers. A big round of applause. Thank you, John Udis. Woo! Okay, it does look really nice, I have to say. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. I had a bum shoulder, so I have an excuse that I did not pick up a single can.
My granddaughter rode in the bucket of the tractor, and we went up and down Shady Rail Road.
Oh,
Down
fantastic.
Culver Hill, and up French Hill, and up by Rumney, and dropped it, we
Oh,
picked
good.
up all the other garbage, and
Well,
She was
Lowry
all
picked up
about
a
it.
whole bag of diapers that the bear had strewn.
Yeah,
Oh.
I love them. I love diapers.
Yeah, aren't they great? Okay, so, and then is there, oh, Lowry just wanted to say that the weatherization for the fire department has been scheduled for like June 5th or something like
Oh,
that.
great.
So that's happening. They're, basically what they're gonna do is, and I believe they might be able to use some of that MERP money that we had, that little $4,000 grant, to train the volunteers. So there's a company, there's a professional company that does it, that's gonna train the volunteers, and then the volunteers are gonna do some of the work, and the company's gonna do some. So that's how we're getting the cost down. So that's been scheduled, so that's good news. And then also, for next, I did get a request from Mitch, but because it was so late, I felt like we couldn't make a decision on a bid without it being warned first. So he wants to do a bidding, which we'll do next select board meeting, for the mowing of the bandstand and Shady Rail and all that kind of stuff. So he'll present us with some bids. And then there was, under other business here, that we just need to sign, I think it's just me, nominating David Lawrence as our, CV fiber representative. Okay? We don't have an alternate. It's handy to have an alternate, but I don't know who would want to be the alternate. But is there a motion to, I think we already did this, but maybe we should do it again. Does David know?
I sent him a message.
He's going to.
I called him and left him a voice.
He never goes to the meeting, so I think we just need a warm name. Not a warm body, a warm name. A person who's alive and their name.
Well, I
We
nominate
haven't
him.
done this one before. but
Okay,
it
is there a
needs to be
second?
re-upped.
I'll second.
Okay, so Larry seconds, Zara nominates, and David, thank you for your name. Okay. And then, oh, and this is the proposal, I think this is the proposal that we're not gonna talk about tonight, but, for brush hogging and, so I'll send it around, or do you have it? Does anyone have it?
No, that right there, yeah, he's got one. But you're not gonna.
Yeah, we're not deciding on it tonight, but this is what we'll decide on next.
But I'll keep those and put
So
them in
it's no
the-
mow May
for next
anyway,
week.
so he's
Next
gonna.
Yeah.
I'll
So the
keep-
grass will be nice and long.
I'll
But-
keep these and put them in the folder for next.
Perfect, thank you.
meeting.
Yeah, can I give this to you to do that too, that same one? Yeah, okay, perfect. So I think that, you guys feel free to go, and then, so what we're gonna do is, we're not gonna adjourn the meeting because we're gonna work on the purchase policy, but after the purchase policy, we're going to, adjourn the meeting and then go into a quick executive session. I don't think it's gonna take more than a few minutes. And I would invite you to stay, Cheryl, at the executive session if you wouldn't mind. Okay, so, thank you guys for coming. It's always nice to see you. It's nice to have real people at the meeting. Okay.
There we go.
So, here we're back at the proposals, right? Or the purchasing proposal? There's a lot here, and for some reason, I don't know what I did with my, oh, and also, Paul, there's something that you need to sign. We need to re-sign the rules of procedure because Paul wasn't on it. And so we want to have Paul's name on it.
We all sign this, right?
Yep. Should we?
You've already signed it before.
Oh, yeah, here's the
Just
old
add
one.
it.
We're
Yeah.
gonna re-sign it with today's
I'm
date.
signing everything anyway. Come
That's
by
okay.
my desk
It's
and
like,
sign.
it's like a mortgage paper.
Just only once.
I always wonder when it's gonna come back to haunt me, my signature, at work, here, I'm
I mean,
just
I
like,
forfeited out all of my,
Yeah.
oh, what's this? The FEMA voluntary transaction agreement.
That is for, Gloria Field, and you have to sign that.
As a witness?
No, you gotta,
Oh, I'm the seller.
as an authorized town representative.
Oh, authorized handwritten, okay.
And then I need to send that off to Lisa Cole, it'll be on there for them. So Larry Martin has accepted, and Gloria Field has accepted. The Kennedys,
Okay,
I
great.
don't think want to accept.
All right, so that's signed.
That's for the other members to sign.
Okay, you guys need to sign that,
I think this is good.
okay?
They want to die.
This is just you?
Yep, that's just me, yep.
Okay. Yeah, we could give
So
it to
Cheryl, I have signed and all of select board has signed.
Perfect.
You need to still sign.
Um,
I like its treasurer, by its treasurer.
I know, I saw.
I
that.
put it here. Is that where I was supposed to in this box?
Yep.
Okay, because then you're the witness,
You're the-
right?
Yeah, you're the authorized, one of the authorized people. I have to put my name in it too, but
Yep.
to just be able to get information from them about.
There's a lot of places for you to sign here, Cheryl.
Yeah, there is. And then I gotta deliver it to them.
Okay.
so you guys have to sign this
Okay, that's all signed.
minutes.
Okay, and then, all members of the select board sign. I think this is all signed. Yep. Oh, wow, we're such a great,
So the access permits need to be signed, the orders need to be signed, and the loan papers need to be signed, and so does.
yeah, there's all,
MSB.
everything that's signed is here, all the driveway permits and everything.
Yeah, well, the driving permits over there,
Oh.
they're finishing them up.
Oh, okay.
On this one.
Oh, yeah, and all that. Okay, perfect. So, that's so weird. What's in my bag again?
Couldn't help myself.
The federal rule on medical debt. This is all work. Oh, no, here it is, the purchasing policy.
Oh, these are all.
See, I just look really organized, but I only have one meeting worth of
These two for
paperwork,
you.
so it's just very easy to keep it tidy.
I am so disorganized. But,
Casting no shame here, trust
yeah.
me.
I don't know that you need me as well. There's no room for my signature.
Just sign.
I'm gonna put it there.
We're in this together. When the ship
Add it to
sinks,
the
we're all in it
spread.
together.
Right,
Wherever.
cellmates.
Okay.
So we don't need to sign this other one?
So
'Cause
Lawrence,
it's
you need to sign this. Oh, these are the
No,
orders.
it's
I
a-
haven't actually
it's a
looked
whole
at the
different
orders.
So
But
we
go
do
ahead
need to
and
sign
I'll
that
look
one.
at them.
Yeah,
I'll
there's
look at
two
the
different
orders.
washed and electric ones.
All right.
But they're for the same people.
No, they're for different
One's
people.
for Hughes and the other one is for.
Right, because remember at the beginning we said.
No, there's two Washington
And-
Electric.
yeah,
There's this
and
one.
Lowell and
Oh, you
what-
haven't gotten the other, this is the other one.
Oh, see, I was signing,
There's like a duplicate.
I'm signing the duplicate.
Oh, should I sign the duplicate too?
There's two.
Yes, because we keep one and they
Okay,
get
I don't
one
think I
back.
signed the duplicates.
No, nobody did.
Okay, except for Zara.
Yay, it's all right.
Yay, Zara.
This needs to go with the two
The orders.
others you just signed.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's got
no,
it.
She's got them in front of her.
That's what my granddaughter does. Yay.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you need to sign this one.
There's another one in there, or there should be two.
I think he has it still.
Oh, okay, all right, so if you wanna send that with this, yeah.
Daddy actually has.
The accounts payable.
Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, I used to have to do this.
Is Brenda
Signing,
from
signing,
Middlesex?
signing.
No. Oh, nice.
But I have to say, I'm really
Almost
glad
as
to have
much
her
as,
here.
Yeah, me too.
Because she is like,
She seems
she
very
takes such
competent.
great notes. And
Oh, perfect.
Sarah came up and worked with her for a little bit, and she thought she did really good too.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's what Sarah told me. Yeah, that's great.
It definitely has made a difference for the last week.
Yeah.
All right, how did I end up with the minutes? I mean, I know they're a work of
They're
art.
so good, aren't they?
This is-
We need to
this is-
frame
This
them.
is so beautiful. I mean, I honestly.
That makes me feel like 1776 size paper, like I'm signing the Constitution.
I think this is
again.
a sign that the minutes are a little more detailed than we need them to be. I don't-
Actually, I think they're great.
They're
I really
great.
do.
Is-
I find
they're
them
not, like,
really,
too-
you know,
Too specific?
it's like reading a newspaper.
That's how it used to be.
Like-
That was
Yeah.
with us.
No, I really find that they
Sorry, did you
explain
sign the payroll
things
orders?
and they're not, you know, you're not
There were two in that.
saying
whole thing,
unnecessary
right? Yeah.
things.
Making sure.
You're saying exactly what,
I guess if people didn't come to the
This needs
meeting
to
and
sign.
wanted to know what we were up to, they would figure it out pretty quickly.
yeah. When they can also watch the video.
That too.
They can watch Orca.
Oh, Liz has got to sign this, she's always.
So I, you have to sign these two. There's a duplicate. You have to sign.
Okay, you two need to sign, these are the employee,
And there should be 2 in that folder.
yeah, there's this one as well.
So I was taking notes at the DRB and I tried the phone app, remember?
Yeah, how'd it go?
Well, it was good until in the notes, the summary, it said most of the meeting was, because it was a short meeting, because the hearing
That's
was
right.
canceled. So
That's right.
it said most of the meeting was centered around the hot cross buns that were brought. So we brought hot cross buns for everybody to have, but it was recording, so I picked everything up.
Oh, aren't they funny? I know,
Yeah.
when they
Oh, I think I got one more.
abbreviate what you discussed.
Yeah.
I know, it's so silly.
6:45, should we jump back into our policy?
Yes, let's jump back into the policy and how about we spend 15 minutes working on one
Liz
section?
had to sign
guess
the
not.
last one, the payable one.
Yeah.
So I went back to.
So
Okay,
I
what-
signed it, but I actually haven't looked at them and I'd like to look at them, okay? So when he gets that, just hand them back to there. So let's work on a section. Where did we leave off? I might have left it here.
So we left off at the purchasing authority. We decided to name purchasing agents, including road foreman, select board chair, town treasurer, fire chief, emergency, management coordinator. So all of these people have like specific purchasing power for the town of Middlesex.
Gotcha.
Ba-da-da-da-da. We agreed, I think, that the incidental purchases could be up to $10,000 without prior approval, provided that those purchases are limited to the amount of the budget authorized. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like the self-contained, like, yes, of course, you can get what you need as long as it's in the budget. And then the next section that we sort of, like, where we left off was the minor, major, and do they have the micro? I don't think they have like a micro thing here. So, like, if we wanted to delineate between minor purchases and major purchases, this tracks the federal the federal classification of purchases, which is, I think a minor purchase is, let's see here. Bidding process. I think it's either 10 or, it's either 5 or 10 is minor, and then major, sorry. This was easier actually, like when I was home, cause I had my super duper monitor set up that I could kind of like have all this up, so, hold on, this might be a little clunky.
If it means anything, our capital improvement plan, that's anything over $5,000, isn't it?
Anything over 5,000 goes into it if it's a capital thing.
So does that make sense to use the number as less than 5,000 being a minor purchase and more than 5,000 being a major purchase then?
So minor purchases incidental purchases say employees who have been designated to act as purchasing agents may make purchases up to without prior approval, provided they're in the budget.
Okay, so maybe,
Right.
I don't know if we did, I think that's where we paused, and I had that as placeholder, because the incidental purchases requires no authority. The minor purchases and the major purchases are thresholds that we can set.
Yeah.
And also we can require, like, anything over, any purchase like over $5,000, we would want to bid out, or if it's over $10,000, we would want to, solicit at least 2 bids or something, if, like.
Are purchases different from maintenance and repairs?
I think that that's what it's kind of like talking about is, like if Eric is out and his truck needs to be fixed, he don't want to wait for somebody to come in and approve
Yeah.
those bids to do that. The work's got to be done and it's got to be fixed.
And that's what we were discussing, like, we've had a $50,000 motor bill in the
Right, that's
past
what I mean.
that
50,000 is like, could easily be
it could
something
fit
that.
very, very easily, and that's happened before, and it's more just like, hey, just a heads up, be on the lookout for that bill. What good is it without the
Right.
motor at this point?
But I think the question too is that, if it's, the question is if it's in the budget, right? So like, if we have in our budget
Then it's already been
50,000 for
voted on.
repairs, and it's already been voted on,
Right.
and the repair costs 25,000, he shouldn't have to come and ask permission for that. He's using his best judgment that this needs to get done. If the repair comes in at 50 and we've already spent 25 of it, he needs to ask us permission because we need to figure out how we're gonna pay for it, right?
Or decide whether it's worth
Right.
putting $50,000 into repairing the truck, or if we
Which
just say,
we've been put in the past.
Right.
yeah.
So purchasing, I just wanna make it clear that purchasing doesn't mean buying something, but also includes repairs.
Yeah.
Okay, do we wanna make note of that? I don't know if we do, but.
Yeah, we totally can, like, this is,
Just adding and repairs to purchasing.
trying to make these squeeze together, come on guys. There we go, okay. Yeah, we can absolutely clarify, like, what the purchasing authority means, like, this is very much, like, this is our, we have, the control and authority to, like, decide how
Yeah.
people spend the town's money as we see fit, so.
We might even just say purchasing for the purpose of this plan includes, repairs and maintenance charges to town-owned equipment and buildings or
I was gonna say
something.
buildings might be
Yeah.
worth throwing in there too.
Buildings and
For
equipment.
the purpose of this, so it would be like for the purpose
Document?
of this provision. This policy, purchasing includes, but is not limited to.
Yeah,
You sound
I like that legal,
lawyer.
Yeah,
I like that legal thing.
Threw that in there as a little.
So it would includes like repairs, maybe like just costs incurred or I don't know,
Repairs and maintenance of buildings and,
and equipment.
and equipment
Yeah.
owned by the town. And,
Oh no.
purchase of,
My battery's dying. Owned by the town of Middlesex.
Yep,
Sorry.
plugging.
I do.
and purchase of stuff, I don't know, what would you call that? Purchase of,
What stuff are you?
Incidentals.
yeah, and just purchase of, because purchasing is also like buying a computer, buying a, a chainsaw, buying this and that.
Yeah.
So the purpose of purchasing,
But computers there are equipment, but you could put incidentals.
and it incurred, for, I would just say for purchases of town, required, town, goods and services or something like that, right? Because we might also purchase a service.
This is true, and we have specific bidding
Yeah.
requirements for that. So I'm gonna highlight this, cause like I would probably like lawyer this a little bit, but I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
like my brain's not gonna do that.
I would put that first piece, the purchase of goods to service and costs incurred, like, because that's what purchases normally you think of, just like I'm buying something, as opposed to I'm buying a repair, which isn't something.
Right.
So, okay.
But yeah, so we're just be like, is the goal is to have a broad purchasing, like that this encompasses anything, like
Yeah.
there's not, so we're not looking to limit the purchasing authority that this applies to.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think define it would be.
yeah.
So I think that minor purchases, so this is my concern. He needs to be able to, and maybe that this is about purchases and not about repairs, because we do not want to limit his incidental purchases to 5,000 and he has to come to us every time he needs a $10,000 repair. So,
Is there language, Stacy, that would talk about it, those funds being within the budget? Like as part of that budgeted line item, like let's say equipment maintenance?
Already approved,
It's-
budgeted.
Yeah,
items.
like-
Yeah, well, yeah, like the wordings right there are limited to the amount of budget.
Budget authorized by the municipality, okay. I don't know how in the weeds we wanna do we wanna paint ourselves in the corner is my own.
right,
Yeah, cause some lines
Overcome.
items have to end up going over the budget.
Yeah,
Right.
And then
inevitably.
some are under, some are over, and in the end, we try to stay as close. I mean, a budget is meant to try to stay as close
That's
as
our
you
goal,
can, but you
yeah.
can't always stay
Right.
within your budget.
so you know what? I believe that this purchase policy is not about repairs. I think
It should be
we should
purchasing
say-
new stuff, yeah.
that we should say this purchasing policy does not apply to repairs and maintenance of equipment.
Of equipment.
And buildings, yes, that's what I think we should say, because, they're saying bid process for 25,000, we're not gonna go bidding out who's gonna repair a job,
Right.
right?
I mean, Eric does really good about like Kenworth, obviously, Kenworth, the company Kenworth is gonna do things cheaper for us
Right,
than taking it to McLeod's.
right,
And they work with us. And we do actually have, what do you call it, extended warranties for the Kenworth and different things like that. But
I want to propose just some alternative language to the model policy. We don't necessarily need the minor, major,
okay.
purchase language. It's like as long as it just, we would need to say though that our purchasing requirements must they have to conform to federal law. So to the extent that federal law requires certain things for a minor purchase or a major purchase, we have to follow that.
Okay.
So, and I think that's actually contemplated in this section here. If federal funding is used, that this tracks the federal requirements.
Okay.
So the major minor is really our option as to how we want to, and incidental too. And so what the language though, I like the language of the East Montpelier's purchasing policy because it's kind of broad in that it includes what I think we're all looking for here is that can people purchase budgeted items, in the ordinary course of business without having to come to the select board. Case in point is a truck repair costs $50,000 or $60,000 and does Eric need to come to us for approval when that amount has already been authorized in the town's transportation budget. And so this language says purchases on behalf of the town may only be made by authorized town officers or employees and are limited without prior approval to the amount of the budget authorized by the town. This would give a lot of flexibility in terms of just if it's within the budget, you don't need prior approval.
Right now, we have $157,000 to buy a new truck. And so the guys have been looking at what truck they want, what truck makes the most sense for their
Yeah.
needs.
But they present that to us,
Mm-hmm.
So
anyway, don't they?
As part of the capital, because that's part of, it's a capital expenditure.
Right.
So it's already been presented because it's already part of the capital expense. So Mark is saying, this is the year that you buy
Yes.
a truck for 157. So then they look at all the trucks and they decide we want this one, but then they don't come back to us.
No, I
and
think
say,
they do.
Yeah, we have always have.
Yeah,
in the
you always have in the
past.
past
Okay.
and basically said it, we picked this truck, we did, we looked at 3 different
Yeah.
trucks, we decide this is what the truck is, and frankly, I think we actually even vote on it, just to be
Yeah,
on the
and
safe side,
usually
that it falls within the budget.
usually the
Okay.
chairperson would sign that P&S at that point. So at that point, or they would authorize Eric. There was
Yeah.
times you guys had authorized me on the board's behalf, go ahead and sign that, let's get the wheels rolling
Yeah.
on it.
Okay.
So,
So I guess their language is flexible in that they've had if it's anything over 10,000 it requires approval, and you have to solicit quotes from at least 2 vendors for purchases over 5,000 unless a sole
Does
vendor.
10 seem like too much?
too much.
For an
Is this an unbudgeted item? When it says that, it says purchasing authority, purchasing on the behalf of the town may only be made by officers and employees
Oh, no, it
and
does
are
say-
limited without prior approval by the select board to the amount of the budget authorized by the town.
This is actually now when this part, the no purchases over 10,000
Yeah.
without prior approval is more constrictive than if we designated incidental, major.
Yeah, I think we should
incidental,
take that out.
So,
But that's, so I like the authorized budget. It almost sounds like you're saying, I don't want them making a $10,000 purchase that isn't budgeted, because we don't have any money.
Yeah.
sorry.
Right, so I would say no
But it
purchases
also
for
says two vendors over
$250.
5,000. So what's our limit?
No, I said $250, but I'm kidding. I don't think we want to put no purchases over 10,000 shall be made. All we're saying is that purchases can be made that are budgeted. And then it says no purchases utilizing town reserve funds may be made by any officer without prior approval of the select board. That to me,
Yep.
because that means it's unbudgeted and you're using
Right.
your reserve funds.
Right.
Okay, when making any purchase not subject to the bid process described below, officers and employees must solicit quotes from at least 2 vendors for purchases over 5,000 unless select board has approved a sole source vendor. The purchase is made by an authorized town officer during an emergency, or the purchase is for professional services. That's interesting, like what? Like, oh, we have to, I probably like,
RGB computers coming to switch us to the cloud and to.
well,
yes.
there's that, but I'm also thinking like, because I think we should bid on that.
Mhm.
Like, I think we should bid every, 5 years or something on just to make sure that we're being competitive. But also, I think more like the radon guy. There's only one guy, right? I'm not gonna go out and get 5 bids when no one's responding to me, right?
Right.
I think we've done our due diligence
Yes,
in
yeah.
making that attempt.
Yeah.
And that's, I was gonna say, that's consistent, sorry if I'm moving too fast, but the minor purchases language, so like a minor purchase could say if it's between like 5 and 10, not required, but competitive quotes from at least 2 vendors should be obtained whenever possible. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a nice threshold, like for these smaller ones, like we'd like for you to quote it out, but you don't have to. And then the question is just, what's the threshold that we would, require approval of anything else?
You know what? I would personally take out, because we've already said in the beginning, if it's budgeted, they can make the decision to purchase it. So we take out incidental and we take out minor and we only leave major.
Sure.
And then we pick something, isn't there the federal limit where, there's something about that?
Yep. So, the model language here is
If federal funding is used.
all
Okay.
purchases over a certain amount require prior approval of it would be the select board.
I would say like all purchases, and these are ones that are in the budget too.
Yeah.
So I would say, what do you think? 50,000?
Oh,
More?
no, I feel like
5, right?
yeah,
If
I'm
that's the
like, I'm
capital-
leaning more, if we've got this is within the budget, but this
It's
is a
already in the
purchase,
budget.
not a service.
Yeah, this is like, we have to buy, well, let's look and see what we bought, right? This isn't probably a great one to look at.
I'm just thinking, like
There's nothing, if you haven't looked at the orders, there's nothing in there that.
like a few
Yeah.
things would come to mind, or would be like a furnace that maybe we didn't budget for here at the clerk's office.
Well, that's different because it's not budgeted. I'm talking about if it's
This is
budgeted.
budgeted.
Right, so,
I feel, well, here's the thing, like, within, let's say Eric's budget, he would have had a wish list within there that we would have approved as voters and a select board. So let's say he was purchasing a new compactor, a $5,000 compactor. He would have already been approved and likely made note within his budget to say, and Steve and I have done this in the past, hey, we're gonna add a jumping jack for installing culverts. It was like a $5,000 compactor. But as part of our ongoing progression in better road maintenance, we're adding that into our budget this year as its own line item
Yeah.
for small equipment purchase.
yeah,
Once you guys said, yep, we like that, once the voters said, yes, we approve that, Steve and I didn't come back
that's what I mean.
for that purchase. But again, it was noted. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
Eric's likely not going to make a $5,000 purchase that, even though he's got the money for it.
Without,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know. I mean,
well, the other thing,
that's putting in good faith thought. Don't get me
well, like,
wrong.
this is what I'm thinking.
No, I know.
You're
I'm just
buying
saying-
bulk culverts.
Yep,
And you spend 25,000 on them.
easily,
Right.
But you've already budgeted 30 for them.
You've budgeted 30 for the culverts, but you're saying he needs to come if it's 5,000.
Understood.
That's what I'm talking about.
So 10? I mean, it seems like,
I mean, I'll be honest, Zara, Johnson Hardware has rolled in with $15,000 worth of culverts
Right.
on their truck.
Right,
I
and this
feel
is
like we should have-
require prior approval, so they can't make a purchase without us first approving it.
Right.
We approve them now, right? Like, we approve at this point in the meeting, we are approving these payments that were already budgeted. Or
Right.
that we've talked about, that we know weren't budgeted, right? So I think that we're really talking about a larger ticket item. A major purchase would be like 50,000 or 25, we could say 25, but I still see the scenario of gravel is a purchase, right? Like, I see 25,000 being spent like that, and he shouldn't have to come and get approval from us first. So 50,000 is a piece of
there any-
equipment.
Stacy, you don't know of any other towns, like what, have you seen anything else that people are using has that number?
Well,
Even
yeah.
so we could like,
I mean, that, like, East Montpelier has, 5,000 requires 2,000 more, 10,000.
requires what?
Up 2 votes?
Yeah, so if anything over 5,000 requires at least 2 bids,
Two bids,
and
okay.
anything over 10,000 requires prior approval. That's pretty consistent. I was gonna say, I don't have all of them up, and I can definitely, like, give you kind of a, like, at the, we're probably gonna be talking about this for a couple more meetings. But I can do kind of a survey of what the thresholds are for other towns. But I believe it's generally like 5, somewhere between 5 and 10 for incidentals, and then 10 and up for like the medium, like middle of the road, and then
So high end might be 50.
I was gonna say, I mean, and then but like that's just where it departs. Like, yeah, federal funding, the feds called $250,000 a major purchase, but like for the town of Middlesex, considering that we're kind of like broke,
50,000 is a big purchase.
I think anything over 10,000 is a big purchase.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because we need to check with you and be like, do we have money in the bank? Like, is there money to pay this?
And just remember,
It's not
this
unreasonable.
purchasing, should we get hit by FEMA again, this purchasing policy will be what we would be held to.
Except there's also emergency section.
Okay, good.
Right. Can I just,
Yes, Larry?
what's work, I've been listening because I'm learning.
Yeah, good. I'm learning too.
But, so, I guess, right now, this is our current one, right? Our purchasing
Yes.
policy, right? And it does, it's all purchases of $25,000 or more, and any supported federal funds, right? Shall be through the bidding process. Is it working? Do we have any
Historically,
issues?
I mean, I can't remember anything, Liz, at least during my tenure.
I'm not saying, we can still change the language, but I'm
Yeah.
looking at the amount, the 25,000.
Yeah, well, 25,000 was also a little bit, it was a lot back 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was 25,000 and like in 2015 dollars.
Right.
Right.
But we wanted, but then again too, we were trying to be a little bit more controlling, because $10,000 is a lot of money for us in this current situation, so maybe we keep it at 25,000.
Yeah. I say we
And
keep
then
it,
do we change it when we're flush?
yeah.
Yeah, we can revisit it.
Expensive is a
Well,
relative
here's the
term.
thing, you guys, here's the thing. The, part of this is also trust in the people that we employ, right?
Sure.
So, and knowing they're following a budget, right? So there are gonna be things that are, new tires for the truck are gonna cost $20,000, right? So if they're budgeted, we shouldn't have to be the ones to say, yes, choose those tires, because that's his job. His job is to get the tires and figure out how to buy them. So really, this is more about, like, situations where there may be a bid process where he wants to discuss with us, what costs 25,000? I don't know, a chipper?
Winter sand, like putting out the bid for winter, that's a budgeted item.
That's a budgeted item, right? And so to me, a budgeted item, if it's a general budgeted item and it's in there, it should be noted that on this major purchase, all major purchases, and have that same language that included, that are budgeted, that we want to just have oversight on. So what's that dollar amount? And I think it's 50. I really do. Like, I don't think it's 25. I think 25 is gonna be too onerous for
Right.
Eric to have to come to us.
Because right now, we have that failing culvert on Brook Road, and him and the crew are gonna fix it. So we don't want Eric having to wait for a select board to say, can I buy this culvert? Well, he has to buy the culvert, the road's going. It needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and, you know, we probably don't have it budgeted.
We definitely don't have it budgeted.
Right, and so.
And that one we're not gonna get through FEMA.
But we've
saying,
already known
"Oops, we
about
forgot
this, but the
culvert."
question is, should we be required to vote about this? No, I mean, you'd have to
Oh, I
wait, we'd
agree.
have to have special meetings, we don't wanna do that.
God,
I
no.
agree.
We definitely don't wanna do that.
And you don't wanna tie
I think a
parents'
major,
hands back.
I personally think a major purchase is 50, we can put that in as a little placeholder, and
Yep.
if you wanna do a little bit more research.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
that'd
agree.
be
I like that.
We do know that we have to, like, if it's 250, we have to go to the voters for that. I
Yeah.
think that's in there.
Yeah,
We can't just approve that without a voter.
yeah. The other thing I'm gonna say about this is, are you available before 5 o'clock?
Because I don't think these towns have been as thoughtful as we have.
Tuesdays from now,
With their
yeah.
$10,000.
Just because I'm just wondering if
Probably
we
not.
should put
I
it
mean,
in front of
really?
the
I
budget
think a lot
committee
of-
and have
I've
them
seen a
do
lot of
some of the
select
work,
boards
because our
micromanage
Oh,
that a
yeah.
meetings
lot.
are usually less
Like,
than,
just their road
they're
crews
half hour long,
and-
they start at
You're
4.
on the budget committee
Well,
too?
maybe
Yeah.
there's distrust.
So we could spend a half hour with
And
Mark
we-
and the
we're-
budget
we're not
committee going
letting
through this,
any
and then
Joe
just
Schmo
present
make a
it to the
purchase.
select
Well,
board.
We're
no.
choosing
And
who
we
gets to
ultimately
Budget committee
review
thought would be good.
yours.
Exactly,
I
we
mean,
sign
that's
them, we approve
part of
them.
what our checks and balances
Yeah, they
Exactly.
have
is,
a
Yeah.
good
we're
sense
here
of
for.
And that's what the treasurer's
Yeah.
job is
Right.
too,
Right.
And we
right?
have, you
kind of
know,
general
like,
cost
the
of
mail
things.
comes in.
Exactly.
I do think though, like,
Brenda opens the mail,
Mhm.
she looks at the bills,
sorry.
she
Just
looks for them for being
the
reasonable.
importance
She
of the
stamps them.
processes that we do
Then she
agree
gives
upon
them to
can't
me
really be
if-
understated,
as
as we
far as
see in like
administrative
what we
costs, and then
discussed
I sign
earlier
off, is it
today with the
supposed to be
bidding,
passed
and
through or
that was more of
whatever.
an ethics
There's it in
issue.
the budget.
But the
Eric does
ethics
his stuff with
and
the fire department and the
this,
highway.
you know, sort of
Anything that's major, Eric
step by
usually comes in and
incremental
asks, "Has something to me
authority,
about it?" I mean, like Eric right now would
is
love
just
to
really
have a
important.
roadside mower
And I
and
think
some way to pave
I
those
totally get
potholes
why
over
we
on
would
Shady
want to
Road Road,
give
having his own
a lot of
stuff.
like purchasing
also the towns
power
are doing
and
this
like
thing
remove
about
obstacles. But is that because it's like
I've tried to.
Eric,
part
or is
that
that
was-
because we want, like, what if Eric leaves tomorrow? Like, will we trust
Yeah.
the next,
Who cares?
will
It's
we
like
trust the
somebody
next
needs
road
to sponsor
foreman
somebody
with
did it.
50,000 in
You
spending
know, that
limit?
kind of
Like,
pissed him off, but
You
they
gotta
don't
miss
pay
it.
for it.
Well, I think if it's in the budget, yes, I mean,
Yes.
that, we hire these people to make those decisions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It could be
So
very-
my
And-
suggestion was that in
We
2
all-
weeks.
Eric, I mean,
Sorry.
Paul.
So my suggestion was that in 2 weeks with the budget committee, usually we go a half hour, we could spend the last half hour on this, get a little bit further with Mark and the rest of the budget committee, and then be presenting it to the select board.
I think that's not a bad idea. I think that's a good idea for the budget committee to kind of weigh in on this, potentially.
And then go through
Right.
and decide whether that's right or not.
yeah, they'll have a good sense of the general overall spend.
Mhm.
Can you combine the minor and major purchases somehow to make it one thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Under this, but over this, and then make it one little.
It can be as simple as like anything under $50,000 doesn't require select board approval as long as it's within the budget, like as long as it's in the municipal budget and you're a purchasing agent. You know, if you're one of these titles,
Yeah.
it can truly be as simple as that. Anything over 50,000 requires, minimum of X number of bids. If it's not otherwise subject to the bidding process, which is spelled out in greater detail below, which requires like the request for bids. So
Yeah.
I think so. The threshold that the model language says in terms of like the bidding process, because I think what we're kind of like not necessarily conflating, but maybe blending is that the requiring select board approval and or like quotes is very different from like the bidding process. The bidding process threshold they've put at $250,000 or more, where you have to issue the RFP or the requests out to the universe, and it's very very specific. So anything at this point, the model language says anything under 250,000 is still very informal. And so then it's just really like our comfort level and how much we want to micromanage or not the purchasing process for these various positions. So,
But we
maybe
would.
we're just overthinking it. Like
Yeah.
it could just be like if we want to
No
just
argument there.
if we just want to be like if it's 50 or under, like we don't care as long as it's in the budget, you're fine.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like we go through the budget so with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
Like we really, oh. When do you get to budget season?
It's not too far away.
No.
Scary.
I do think though, based on like looking at other towns' policies though, that would be very much outside the norm. Like most seem to want select board approval and input after like 10,000 for a spend in excess of 10.
Interesting.
Even though it's
Interesting.
budgeted.
It is interesting.
I mean, I just feel like I'm
Yeah.
wondering, like maybe they're not. I mean, I would be curious to talk. I can actually ask one of my colleagues, like, do you really like if they're buying something, you have to get prior approval to buy something that's
It's
under
already been
10,000?
budgeted,
If it's already been budgeted, that just makes no sense.
Yeah.
right, because you've already gone through like the cost.
What's the point of having a budget?
Well, you know, and Eric
I mean, I know
does
what the
things
point of
like,
having a budget is.
for like having the sand and all that stuff, put in, he actually checked around and got prices anyway.
Well, he should
Right.
because we
Right.
want to save money,
Definitely.
right?
So he will, yeah, I mean, it's his budget, he wants to
Yeah.
save his
Well-
money, he don't wanna go over budget.
I think that's the why, right? Because like yes, the town has budgeted this, but requiring approval and the bidding process, quoting it out, it's a cost saving measure, right? It's like a built-in backstop to the budget. If like sure, we've got like 50 grand for this truck allocated, but we want to make sure that like can you get this same equipment for less because you have gone like because we're weighing in and because you've obtained three
So maybe
three quotes
maybe
and they
the
all
approval is just make sure that Eric followed the process of bidding.
kind of yeah. I mean,
And-
but again, like it's again we can be as hands on or hands off. But I think that's why it's really meant to ensure that we're getting the most competitive.
Mhm.
We're getting the most bang for our buck, right?
Well, there's two different things,
competitive
bidding and
quotes.
quotes, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's, like a bidding is gonna be somebody like Laurie's been doing for the heat system.
Yeah.
You wanna compare all three prices or whatever. However, when he went to buy the excavator, Eric reached out to like 3 different people, looked at, okay, this is, this was what this company does, this is what this company does, and this is what this one does, but this one includes this one, but this one don't include this one. And he compared his apples to oranges to come up with the best deal
Sure.
for what was gonna be for the town and the highway department, what was gonna be the best excavator
Yep.
to have, you know what I mean? So that's,
And we approved,
me-
and that's an example of something that was voted on.
Yeah.
It got approved, but we voted on it. Like we voted at the meeting to say, yes, we approve this purchase of this
right, and when you're
excavator.
going through Beauregard or whatever it
Yeah.
is versus Komatsu.
Yes, yeah,
So that is kind of like what the difference, I think, in the
yes.
wording in here.
I think so too. So then the question is, what's that number where we want him to we approve that purchase, even if it's budgeted, right? What is that number? And to me, 25,000 seems low, but maybe we just put 25,000 because it's not like we're constantly buying $25,000 worth of something. But Eric needs to be informed of that. Like we would say,
Yeah.
Eric, anytime there's something that's 25, and we could also, in the emergency section, say anything over 25 or anything up to 50,000 in the emergency section that has been budgeted can be
Spent.
purchased without,
Yeah.
and that would give us the freedom for him to not have to wait for a meeting or call a special meeting for something. Say,
But then like for something like hauling the sand or buying the sand when it's 35,000, he should know that he should check a couple different places
Yes.
to see,
I mean, we
just a
can
price comparison.
ask, right? That can be built in, like,
Right.
competitive quotes, can,
Effort
can
to
can
be
be or should be obtained where possible.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be a strict requirement, but it can be just like we know that Eric does it because he's awesome, but if like anybody else, I think about just like when the weatherization committee was talking about, I think it was your husband was here talking about like the fact that we were gonna have to replace this heat system, and we're like, do we need bids? Do we need to quote that? What do we do?
Yeah.
And like this is just guidance for like those kinds of
Yeah.
purchases, and also not necessarily like regular players like Eric who manages the department funds responsibly. It sounds like without anyone like looking over his shoulder.
But the next guy.
And I guess I'm so, like it's an invitation to sort of like back up too. Like this isn't just about highway. This is like all municipal
Yeah.
purchases would be subject to this, and so, you know, like, it's kind of that, double, like, the unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
maybe we wanna give the highway department, like, much higher purchasing authority specifically than we do anybody else, like,
Right.
and that, cause that kind of is like, do we want, you know, the energy committee to have, or I guess it would, you know, I don't know. Do we want someone to be able to go out and buy something for the town that's $50,000 in a line item without like telling anyone?
God, no.
No.
And I think there's enough safeguards in place, which are like as designated purchasing agents, that's unlikely to happen. But that's like kind of the other side of this.
And dare I say, it also would allow us to, at a certain dollar level, would also allow us to ask the ethics question, like, is there any conflicts of interest of this person that you're hiring? Because we don't know necessarily that, you know, Eric is hiring his brother-in-law and getting a deal or whatever, you know? So anyway, so let's put this on pause because it's 7:20.
Yep.
We're gonna call the meeting to conclusion. And so we're going to let Orica leave so we can have a quick little conversation okay, wait, hold on. We're gonna adjourn the meeting and then we need to make a motion to move into executive session citing what it says in the, let's see, executive, so we need a motion to go into wait, first of all, is there a motion to close this meeting?
There's a motion to close this meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, all those in favor of ending the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now is there a motion to
I'll
move
stop
into
recording.
executive session per 1 VSA statute 313A3 to discuss the appointment or employment of an employee? This session is limited to discussions about applicants for the vacant lister and select board assistant position. And then it says applicants will be invited to the May 20th meeting where a decision shall be made. So basically, what I'm saying is.
Recording stopped.
We're not gonna come out and vote on anything because there's nothing to vote on. I would make that motion. Okay, is there a second? Okay. All those in favor of moving into executive session, say aye. So.